It sounds like, yes, music to everyone's ears who loves the sport of NHRA Powerade drag racing. The fans come to their feet as 8,000 horsepower comes to life for Rod Fuller in the right lane and Morgan Lucas in the left lane. Sit back, relax, if you can, as we get ready for the sounds and thrills of championship drag racing. Rod Fuller, and wait a minute, there is a problem for Morgan Lucas, and they have shut him off. Morgan Lucas's dreams of winning his first NHRA national event here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals will not even make it out of the water box in first round. The national anthem lasted longer than his team.
Well, you talk about a disappointment. There can't be any worse feeling than what Morgan is feeling right now. It looks like we saw the smoke out of the headers. Didn't see what happened on the video, but it probably backfired the supercharger when they went to fire the thing up, and obviously that just ended their day. Tough break.
Down with Morgan Lucas. Morgan, can you describe the feeling right now?
Complete disappointment, a little heartbreak, a little pissed off too.
Did it backfire? What happened?
Really don't know. Something just, I don't know what's wrong. It felt like it had a rod out or something happened. It's a new motor. We just put it in last night just because the old one had too many runs on it. So I've never had anything like this happen before. I'm really disappointed. I'm really excited about this race today. It's U.S. Nationals, biggest race of the year. I don't know. I guess there's next year.
There's what it looked like. You can see the cylinder.
Oh, yeah, just putting out raw fuel out there. We saw that with Luigi Novelli at Brainerd.
Now, Rod Fuller's going to want lane choice. I got to believe he's going to want to lay one down here.
No question about it. They'll, unless something happens, if he feels anything, he'll shut off. But if it's a clean run, he's going to drive her to the end.
Does just fine. Again, he's been living in that 450 range, 4.56 seconds. Look at the dejection on Forrest Lucas and Morgan Lucas. Now remember, this team just had a crew chief change. John Stewart is no longer helping make the calls on that car. It's up to Jim Dupuis. Don't know if that had anything to do with it or whether it was just unfortunate misfortune as we are now underway here at the U.S. Nationals. The hunger to win. It burns within each of these drivers. But the hunger to win the U.S. Nationals is something different. A win at Indy is the culmination of an entire lifetime of hopes and dreams. A win here is the ultimate accomplishment in drag racing. No career, no matter how storied, no matter how prolific, is complete without a U.S. Nationals win. The anticipation builds as these men and women prepare to run for the NHRA's ultimate prize. For each one of these racers, the journey into drag racing immortality goes through Indianapolis, and that journey begins right now. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents exclusive coverage of the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today, from the motorsports capital of the world in Indianapolis, it is final eliminations, first round action, the biggest race on the schedule. It's the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. And if you look down from the far end of the racetrack, we have had absolutely spectacular weather conditions. Great crowds have turned out every single day of qualifying, and we have seen some spectacular performances from all of our professionals here this weekend. Glad that you're with us. I'm Marty Reed along with Mike Dunn, and we're getting ready for our second pair of top fuelers. I don't know how you put into perspective, your hopes and dreams go away just that fast for Morgan Lucas.
I mean, that's what drag race is all about. You know, goes up there, tries to start the car, it backfires or whatever happened, broke a rod, was unable to make the call. Big disappointment for the team, and they've been struggling. They've gone through two crew chiefs since St. Louis. Wayne Dupuis left the team, and then John Stewart came on board, and then John left last week and went over to Gary Densham. So they got some issues they got to work out over there.
Well, Rod Fuller's at the far end of the racetrack with Gary Gerald.
And coming off the victory, of course, at Memphis, and you start out here thinking that you're going to be the guinea pig in the first pair, and suddenly it's a single run. Does that diminish the pressure at all for you?
No, I can't believe you kept on giving me the one signal, and it means that you're going to get a bye run. And I kept on looking over. It's like, this can't be true. This can't be true. This is Indy. You know, it's a lot harder to start off. I mean, first pair, 8-9 qualifier, Mac Tools race. We're in one of the Mac Tools cars, Valvoline, here this weekend. Been having a wonderful weekend. Lee Beard. I just, after a couple weeks in Memphis winning, I'm on a high.
Well, keep it rolling. 4:56 is a great start.
Thank you, guys.
In his very first Indy start as a professional. Of course, he's been here in the sportsman ranks, but I'm sure the pressure he was feeling in that first round went away very quickly when he got that #1 side. As we get ready now for Scott Coletta in the left lane, Melanie Troxel over in the right lane. Tire smoke, Scott. And Melanie hauls the mail. 4.59 seconds, 320 miles an hour. You see Connie Coletta, the only member of the Coletta clan to ever win the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. And it won't be Scott's turn today either, as he is out of here in first round.
Well, we hope that's not a thing to come with Team Coletta. Did he move a couple feet before it started smoking the tires? Melanie Troxel, who struggled in qualifying, she came out of the box, ran a 4:56, but didn't get down the racetrack, but then makes a nice run. Scott Coletta, can't be said for him. That thing just blew the tires off right at the head of the throttle, and his day was done almost as fast as Morgan's.
All right, we've got to take a commercial break. We're live with you here at Indianapolis Raceway Park as you take a look at some of the history here at this great storied event. Brandon Bernstein, as he's coming up in first round action against David Grubnick. Stay with us. Back here live with our first round coverage of Top Fuel. Let's quickly go to the far end. Gary.
It hasn't been the best of weekends through the qualifying for Melanie Troxel, but when you come in here and you knock out a Coletta, as you did for your first round win of the season 2 weeks ago in Memphis, what does that do? How much of a boost to your confidence?
Oh, boy, I can't tell you. I mean, to take Dougie out last week and Scott this week, and they are a really tough team, and we really have struggled. But, you know, we kept together, all my guys, the Skull Gear team, Richard Hogan. You know, we stuck it through, knew that we could turn this thing around, and I think we've got something to work with now. But we've got some people out here this weekend from Torco Race Fuels and Skull Gear. We want to say hi to them and, you know, tell them we're going to do our best. Hope we can go out and get a few more round wins.
And as you guys finish up, Doug Coletta, after the team makes a lane change. They had the choice. We're originally going to go in the left lane, switch over to the right lane. Obviously a good choice for Ron Tobler and Connie Coletta. 4.54 the elapsed time.
Well, I mean, the reason they made that decision, they saw Hot Rod Fuller go down that right-hand lane and make a good run. Scott smokes the tires and Melanie goes down that right-hand lane. So say, hey, we got lane choice. Let's take the right lane. And they lay down a 454 at over 328 miles per hour. Nice run by the team.
So not only does Doug Coletta take a step towards his first ever Mac Tools U.S. Nationals title, he also picks up 20 valuable points, forcing Tony Schumacher to keep pace. Let's talk a little bit about the weather conditions, Mike.
It has been beautiful all weekend here in Indianapolis. 79-degree temperature, water grains and humidity, 70, 49%. That's a measurement of moisture in the air. The water grains, that's what the crew chiefs like to use that number. Anything below 100 is pretty good. Everything up below 100 pretty good. Track temperature 106. Now that's going to be key as we get later in the rounds. When that starts going up, we may be seeing some more tire smoke.
Yeah, if you were with us 2 weeks ago at Memphis, we were over 100 degrees air temperature, 140 plus on the track temperature. That gives you an idea how much better conditions are here. You're looking at one of the surprises of qualifying so far, Doug Herbert. His season best, #2 spot, 4.46 seconds. He's going to be in the right lane against Joe Hartley. And as they complete the burnout process, let's talk about the points championship chase as we take a look at it coming out of qualifying, with Tony taking his first ever career pole here at Indianapolis. He ties Doug for the top spot, so it's a dead heat going into this round. Now Doug has scored the additional 20. That's what we were talking about as far as forcing Tony to keep pace. As you see, Larry Dixon, 99 back in third. Don't forget that coming up later tonight on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD, we'll have final eliminations, 3 hours of coverage. You won't miss a thing of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Doug, the Dougzilla scheme on his car, all of his Dougzilla themed t-shirts, hats, all the proceeds from the sales are going to hurricane relief effort. That was his one contribution that he was able to make.
You know, Doug Herbert got down the racetrack in the evening sessions, felt very good. They have not really made a good run when the sun's been out on the racetrack. I talked to Wayne Dupuis. He feels confident. They had some mechanical problems on both of those runs. He feels he's got a pretty good handle on this race car, but I guaranteed he would have liked to have one good run in the heat to feel a little bit more comfortable.
Joe Hartley ran his career best just to get into the field. And again, we saw tire smoke over in the left lane, and in the right lane, we see another 450 elapsed time, 4.57 seconds at 321 miles an hour.
So we watched the launch here. Joe Hartley, same thing as we saw with Scott Collette, just spun the tires pretty much at the head of the throttle. Doug Herbert in the right-hand lane, he's just pulling away, and all Joe can do is watch him drive away for the win.
So for Doug Herbert, his 400th round of Top Fuel competition, victorious. And coming up, we have Tony Schumacher versus Jack Beckman. Don't go away.
The U.S. National on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD.
We're back live for first round action here in Top Fuel as we're getting ready for the man who has won this event. Only one guy has won it more than Tony Schumacher, and that's Big Daddy Don Garlits. And there you see, Tony's won it 4 out of the last 5 years, including the last 3 in a row. He's got a long way to go to catch up to Big.
Yeah, I think Garlits owned it in the previous session, what am I trying to say? Previous century. This century, it's been Tony Schumacher. Man, never a higher race car driver to be an analyst.
Jack Beckman over in the left lane. Gary?
How about this guy? He showed up now for 8 events out of what? This is number 18 out of 23 in the $50 million NHRA Powerade Series, and he has qualified all 8 times.
Unfortunately, he goes up in tire smoke here. And Tony keeps pace in the championship chase and is marched towards 4 straight. 4.53 the elapsed time, 320 miles an hour. That is the quickest run of this first round of eliminations.
The Army team just keeps marching on. Same thing, left-hand lane. Jack Beckman, as soon as he hits the throttle, smokes the tires. Tony Schumacher, low ET of eliminations. Every winner thus far has ran in the 450 range. Tony's been the quickest at this point with a 4:53.
All right, now we did not see this yesterday. The lane did not deteriorate. What happened overnight?
You know, there was really no difference in lanes in qualifying. I mean, the left lane was actually the preferred lane in qualifying by a little bit, only because the right lane you had to kind of drive from, you know, kind of over from the start and out towards the center of the groove, and that made it a little bit harder. But something happened on the starting line. It might be a situation where they're developing bald spots where the rubber's just not tight right on the starting line, and maybe some of the teams in the back are going to have to move those cars either way to the inside or way to the outside to try to get into some good rubber.
Our next pair doing the burnouts. Corey McLenithan will be over in the right lane. Closest to you right there is TJ Zizzo, the number 14 qualifier. His 2nd consecutive Indy start, but he's going up against a 2-time Indy Top Fuel winner. More on this matchup, but first let's go to the far end. Gary.
This Army machine just keeps marching along. You have been so dominant over the last few years in this event. I asked you yesterday, is it automatic at all? Do you feel, is your confidence level so high that you're always going to win when you're at an Indy?
Oh, I tell you, I guarantee you I had some butterflies there. You know, it's such a big round, and you got to treat it like a round. You got to go up there and be a machine, do the same thing. But I'll tell you, we're going to dedicate this to operation. We got an operation going on in Afghanistan right now. Task Force Pacemaker. There are guys over there. They had to build a road from eastern Afghanistan to western Afghanistan, or vice versa. I don't know what it was, but they had to do something that was unheard of. It was not going to happen, and they got it done 2 weeks early. But for you guys, and I hope I got the names right, man, we're very proud of you guys doing an outstanding job. Obviously, Matco Tools, Gates, Belts, and Hoses, we love you guys. This is huge. My wife at home, keep that baby until I get there, baby.
And we want to pass along our best to all of our armed forces because they see us on the Armed Forces Network. And guys or gals, we're all proud of you. Here we go. Well, TJ Zizzo made it down the left lane, but it wasn't good enough. Corey Mack goes 4.56 seconds at 3:25. So let's take another look at the run as we head towards commercial break here at the Mac Tools U.S. National. Stay with us. We're coming back with more Top Fuel. Welcome back live to Indianapolis Raceway Park and the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals 51st edition of this great race. As you're on board right now with David Grubnick. He is in the left lane up against Brandon Bernstein. And Dave has not had a great deal of success here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, as you can see. Tim Richards, he's had some success. Brandon, his third race here. Both cars go up in smoke, and it is David Grubnick first to the stripe. And I'm surprised we have not seen any tire smoke in the right lane until Brandon Bernstein's run.
And this is the first time we haven't had a winner that ran in the 450 laps time range. That's pretty amazing here, but you got to watch David Grubnick. I mean, he must have pedaled that race car 9 or 10 times trying to get that thing to recover. Watch left side of your screen. You're going to see Brandon go up in smoke first, and then David Grubnick a little further out, and watch it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 5 or 6 times.
For David Grubnick, his second round win here in his history at Indy comes at a key time.
This is what it takes, try to rein in 7,000 horsepower.
You heard it right there, how many times he was pumping the throttle. As there's Brandon Bernstein looking over his power plant and wondering, guys, what went wrong? Because they were pretty stout in qualifying.
Yeah, consistent number 4 qualifier. They're out of here, and they were making consistent runs all weekend, too.
Already heading back to the pits, the Army of One, Tony Schumacher and his team. The 75-minute turnaround will begin. The other end of the spectrum, the day over for those who lose. Let's go to the far end with Gary.
And we check in. Dave Grubnick has come out of the car and will come over here, and I want you to watch the monitor here in this little first pedal fest of the day. Tell us how tough it is to regain control of your race car.
Well, in all honesty, that was terrible. It went out there and it smoked the tires, right? Well, the chassis unloads, so you drop down into the chassis, and then it started ragdolling me because you start bouncing in the car, and I couldn't regain proper control of the throttle. But you know what? I don't care. I'll take it. For Xantrax 3, all the Mac Tools distributors, Technicoat, Redline, Summit, and Motel 6, man, we're having a great day. We'll just keep going rounds.
Grubby's a ragdoll. How about that?
You know, that's a situation. These throttle pedals are so quick to get the reaction time. They only got about 1 inch of throttle travel. So, I mean, I can tell you, it's very hard to get that thing just to try to squeeze into that throttle. When that car's bouncing like that and you're trying to get a win, it's very easy to do what he was doing.
We get ready now for Larry Dixon. You see his record here at the U.S. Nationals. When he makes it to the finals, he's got a 2-3 chance of winning. Handed Dick LaHaye his one and only win as a crew chief here a few years back. Scott Wise here at the U.S. Nationals, his first Indy race, losing to Kenny Bernstein.
I remember him getting that first win for Dick LaHaye. I love him, though.
Hey, folks. 4.60 seconds, the elapsed time for Larry Dixon. And for those folks at home who don't understand what Mike was referring to, unfortunately, Larry beat Mike that day to give Dick LaHaye the win. And I wasn't going to mention it. You brought it up. I was trying to let it slide.
He didn't beat me. He spanked me.
All right, let's take a look at the Top Fuel ladder presented by Lucas Oil, and you'll see that Tony Schumacher has lane choice over Rod Fuller. Doug Coletta over his teammate David Grubnick. Over on the other side, Doug Herbert has the choice over Melanie Troxel, and Corey McClenathan in a great matchup with Larry Dixon. And as we get ready to head for commercial break, that is Melanie's pit as they are hard at work getting ready for second round action. Meanwhile, as you take a look at some of the historic footage, we get ready for first round action in funny car. Phil Burkhardt has the unenviable task of taking out the pole sitter, John Force, and he wins 95% of the time when he's on point. live here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. You're on board with Eric Medlin as he is going to be in our first matchup in first round action of Funny Car against Tony Bartone. Here is our Funny Car ladder presented by Lucas Oil. John Force and Whit Bazemore, Del Worsham, and TJ. Tommy Johnson Jr. have the lane choice on the left side, and then Robert Height, Gary Scelzi, Frank Pedregon, and the matchup that we're seeing right here, Eric Medlin, have lane choice on the other. Eric, of course, runner-up yesterday in the Skoll Showdown. Tony Bartone ran his career best just to qualify. And it is Eric Medlin, 4.92 seconds at 310 miles an hour, and the man who has won 3 of the last 4 Funny Car races picks up where he's been leaving off.
Except for the final round of the showdown yesterday, this car's been down the racetrack every time. They had lane choice, took that right-hand lane. Eric Medlin did. Car looked good early in the run, but then you see right about that point there, you saw the cylinder go out, starts mixing them up. When it gets out of the throttle, a little flash of fire right at the end. So we go on board. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you could hear the little pop right there as just at the finish line as he was lifting out of the throttle. One more time. He's right down the middle, but there it is. The cylinder goes out right there, starting to load all them other cylinders, and right at the finish line, boom. Well, that was more than a little pop. That was a pretty good bang right there.
So they'll have some work to do between rounds, as there you see the car is stopped out on the racetrack. The safety safari will have to tow him off of the race course. Give us an opportunity to point out, we mentioned the fact that Tony Bartone was his quickest elapsed time. This is the quickest Funny Car field in the history of the sport. As you see David Grubnick's team getting back to the pit area for the 75-minute turnaround. The clock begins the minute that the very last car in that particular class, in this case it would be Top Fuel, would cross the finish line. And then everybody has 75 minutes from that point to be ready to go for second round. We're going to take a commercial break while they get everything taken care of out on the track. And we're looking down from atop Corey McLenithan's pit. And they are already 3 minutes into their turnaround from the time they got back to their pit. We'll keep you posted on it. Stay with us. We're coming back. Back here live at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, you're looking at Gary Dencham. What a difference a year makes. A year ago, he swept the Skoll Showdown and the U.S. Nationals. 7-round wins in 2 days. This year, he comes into this event with a total of 3-round wins all year long. Frank Pedregon over in the right lane. You saw Frank Pedregon take it very deep, turning out the top bulb. He wins the round, 4.91 to a 4.96 for Gary Dencham.
Boy, that was, not only was that a good drag race, but that was a good run by Frank Pedregon. You mentioned the fact, Marty, that he put the top staging light out. That means he went in deep. That gives you a better reaction time, but it takes away from your lap time because you don't get a run at the start. So what happens is it's usually worth about 0.05 of a second you're going to lose. So that was probably actually about a 4.86, 4.87 pass.
Well, he's going to escape here because he actually has lane choice by 1/100th over Eric Medlin. Dave Reef?
Whit Bazemore's first start at Indianapolis came in 1990. That makes this his 16th attempt. He's a 2-time winner, but today Whit facing some ominous challenges. Racing a teammate in round 1. At what point today did Ron Capps become the competitor as opposed to your teammate?
He became my competitor, I think, in 95 or 6 when he started racing, honestly. They're teammates, but we knew Saturday night after qualifying, we were 8th, he was 9th, that, unless we had thunderstorms or something, that this was the way it was going to end up. And right then, we knew the situation. So we're just focused on doing our job and trying to get this Mac Tools Dodge back in the winner's circle like we know we can.
Do you have a car that can go the distance today?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, we ran well yesterday in the heat, and it's a little hotter now, but it's always a challenge. But we proved to ourselves, at least, that yesterday we can run competitively in the heat in the top 3, top 2, and so we're taking that and we're going to run with it.
All right, thanks. As we get ready now for John Force and Phil Burkhart. Burkhart, the number 16 qualifier. Force, his first pole of the year, and we mentioned right as we were going to break, when he is on pole, John wins first round 95% of the time, and that's 125 times that he's been on pole. That's pretty astounding. Here's John's record at the U.S. Nationals.
But he is racing Phil Burkhardt, and Phil Burkhardt races John very, very tough. I mean, he does not get intimidated by him whatsoever. I mean, they're 6-6 in heads-up races, so this is basically the tiebreaker right here. John Forrest, tremendous advantage on the performance side of it, but the sun's out. That's the great equalizer because you can't use all that horsepower to get this thing down the racetrack. Phil Burkhardt's going to hope that he has a good setup on the car. He can get a good jump off the starting line and hopefully get that win, but John's thinking otherwise.
John's in trouble. And in a pedal fest, number 16 takes John Force out. You talk about beating the odds. Phil Burkhardt just did it, and John Force, for the 9th time this season, loses in the first round. And not only is this the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals we're talking about, his championship hopes just took a beating.
They definitely, I don't think they took a beating, but they took a pretty hard hit right there, Marty. I mean, that was a, Phil Burkhardt does race hard, but this still is an upset. I mean, the right lane looked very good. Conditions were right. We saw Frank Petragon go right down there and make a nice run. But John Force, just when they were trying to apply that clutch and the horsepower out there a couple hundred feet, just drove that thing right into heavy tire smoke. Phil Burkhardt started spinning a little bit later, didn't spin as hard, and he caught it very quick. So he was able to carry that momentum ahead of John. Let's watch this thing as it launches. I mean, it looked good early in the run, but it was actually a little bit soft, but it never shook the tires. It just jumped right up. Probably, remember, they kind of take a little bit of a horsepower and clutch away at the beginning to get the car to launch, and then they try and apply it from 200 feet to the half track to make that thing accelerate, and right at that point, that's where John started smoking the tires.
See, John even hit the block, which would have disqualified him even if Burkhardt would have been second across the line in that pedal fest. So, the brand new paint scheme will not be around for second round. Let's check in with Gary.
One of the things that I respect about Gary Dencham is the fact that a year ago you were at the highest of highs. This has got to be one of the low points, but every time you get out of the car, you got a smile on your face for us, and we appreciate that. But tell us about the emotion, the swing from a year ago to today.
Well, obviously, nobody wants to lose at Indy. You know, it's the biggest race of the year. But, you know, we came into this race, as a real underdog, obviously, and I think the team performed flawlessly. We made 4 very great runs, got in the record bump field. Thought we had a very good chance this morning. In fact, car was ahead and something just laid over. I don't know what happened. Car's been performing flawlessly, you know, and thanks to Race Bricks and Evan Knowles at Torco and Marty and everybody, you know, or at least we're out here and we're getting better every weekend, and by the end of the year, hope to be a threat to win a race, and we come back here next year, by God, we'll get them.
You doubled up last year, and that's so tough to do in this big spotlight here that is Indy. How do you assess the chances for Del Worsham to be able to do what you did a year ago today?
Well, Dale's got himself an awful good car this weekend like I did. Obviously, there's a lot of great cars in this field. So, the stars, the planets, everything has to line up right. You got to have a good car. You got to do a good job as a driver. And they've got all those qualities over there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of other good cars, too. So, at the end of the day, we'll all see.
Appreciate it, Gary.
Thank you very much.
He is a class act, Gary Dencham. We've got to take a commercial break as we take you on time lapse with Corey McLenathan's team. Don't you wish your local mechanic could work this well, this quickly? Stay with us. We're coming back to Indy. Back live at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Before the commercial break, we talked with the man who doubled up last year here, winning the Sculp Showdown and the event itself. Here is this year's winner, Del Worsham. Can he win it this year? Well, this is the first step. Here are the guys that have won the $50,000 double-up bonus. If you pull it off with your contingencies and everything else, it's about a $250,000 payday. Over in the other lane, it is Jim Head, one of 4 drivers to win both Top Fuel and Funny Car here at the U.S. National. Worsham does it again. Another good, clean pass. Jim Head was in trouble from the start. Not really a factor. And it is the quickest run of the round for Del. 4.84 seconds at 3:18.
Very nice run for Del Worsham to get down that racetrack after he saw John Force smoke the tires right ahead of him. Don't know if they made any adjustments based on that or they felt confident with their combination. But either way, the car was stuck right down the middle of the lane. to a 484 at over 318 miles per hour.
Let's go to the far end. Gary?
John Force has graciously stayed so that we could get a word on his thoughts and what happens a four-time winner doesn't get beyond the first round. How do you feel about that, John?
How do you think I feel? You've been in this business a long time. That Worship's killing me this weekend. I mean, and then this kid gets out and says, Force is the man to beat. I suck right now, okay? But I swear to God, I'll fix it, or I'll find another job. And I ain't leaving this. I'm too old to start all over again. I'm just, way to go, Archie, again. Anyway, thanks for giving me a shot. Don't worry, Castro, Ford, Mac, AAA, or any of you people. I will fix this hunk, because I know how to fix it. I've been doing this a long time, unless my brain has quit, and I don't think so.
I think the credentials bear him out.
Underneath there, he is frustrated. He puts his best face forward. Take another look. This is the brand new body they debuted late yesterday. And don't know what went wrong.
Just missed on the setup. I mean, that thing didn't even come close to just giving John any indication that was going to smoke the tires. It just jumped right up on the tire, and it's very hard for a driver when it does that to get to recover.
So, as in Phil Burkhart's pit, to the victor goes the chance to run again, as he will get ready for second round. Let's talk to Phil's teammate. He's with Gary.
Let's talk about momentum and going for that double and all the extra money on the line. Does that spur you on? Do you try to block it out? How do you approach it?
You definitely try to block it out. You just got to go up there and race your race and not think about the money. But when you have a great car, momentum just kind of comes with it. And hopefully, today things are just going great. My dad, again, the entire Checker Trucks Cragen team just did a great job, great car, just right down the track. And I don't know. We're not going to think about it until the final. Thank you.
How cool was it yesterday, guys, when the parachutist comes in with that $100 grand in a briefcase?
Yeah, and he landed right next to the car. I would have probably fallen right into the trunk. All right, we're getting ready for Tony Pedregon and Robert Hight. Let's take you back to Saturday and session number 2. This was the frightening moment when the throttle stuck as they lifted the body, and that was Cody Pendergrass getting a face plant on the front, and it was Dickie Venables literally burning his legs, having his pants blown up from the sheer force of the exhaust header. And there's Dickie. He says it's painful, but he's blocking it out.
Well, I think to say that they're not having a good weekend would be an understatement, but if they can get it all together and win today, that would definitely top the weekend off.
Robert Hight in the right lane, the points leader. Hight's in trouble. And Tony Pedregon takes out Robert Hight. So now, number 1 in the points, number 4 in the points, out of here. And Jimmy Prock is wondering, what did we do wrong?
That was a huge surprise. Jimmy Prock really had a handle on that race car, and to see Dale Worsham go down the run of 484, you know that you can run a mid 480, and Jimmy's been tuning that car and qualifying to run right around a 483, 484 in these conditions, and I gotta believe he probably had the same tune-up, but for whatever reason, it just didn't stick. Robert did a good job of backpedaling, getting that thing back hooked up after it spun. Real good job, actually. And Tony, he put a cylinder out, moved over towards the wall, got a little bit loose, but he's into the second round, and I guarantee you that's going to do a lot to help ease the pain over there.
Let's listen. So a very happy Tony Pedregon, and this will make those burns on Dickie Venables' legs feel a lot better. Getting a much-needed round win. They have been searching for consistency in their race car. Who knows? Maybe today will be their day. As we get ready back at the starting line for Bob Gilbertson. He'll be in the left lane as the number 12 qualifier up against Tommy Johnson Jr., the number 5 qualifier. And with the burnouts complete, let's shift gears, go back into the pits for Top Fuel. Dave Reef.
Plenty of stunned silence here in Morgan Lucas's pit. Remember, that's the car that was the first pair of Top Fuelers. Look right here. This is the problem. A hole on the opposite side of this block. And for Jim Dupuis and this entire team, your first race as official crew chief ends in a very disappointing way. What happened to cause that?
Well, the only thing we can figure out right now before we take the whole thing apart is it looks like it broke a main stud first, and then it got hung up in the rods, and then it kicked number 3 rod out. I don't know what else to say. That's all I can see right now without taking the whole thing apart.
Adding insult to injury, of course, you're a New Orleans native. We don't know exactly what the situation is there. What are your plans? What do you know the entire Dupuis family down from New Orleans?
I'm not sure yet. It's right now, it's a lot on my mind, trying to think about that and this. And my wife, hopefully I get home tomorrow and we'll get together and try to make a decision on what to do down there. I mean, we have a lot of people out of homes and out of work, and just try to take it one day at a time. Hold my head up, but it's getting hard.
Best of luck with the biggest picture.
Thank you.
You talk about compounding the problems. He has a lot more on his mind than just losing a drag race. Tommy Johnson, Bob Gilbertson on the line. TJ's in trouble. And Tommy Johnson, a former finalist here at Indy, goes down to defeat in first round at the hands of Bob Gilbertson. And Gilbertson, his best Indy performance was back in 1999. He went to the semifinals, and he takes a step here in that direction again.
And another upset here. That's making Del Worsham and Frank Petrigon look awfully good in that right-hand lane, because TJ, John Force, they have had nothing but problems trying to get to, and Robert Hyde trying to get down that lane. Bob Gilbertson makes a nice run, gets it just right down the racetrack, does exactly what he has to do. Now let's watch TJ. The car launch is pretty good, has decent numbers. Now he went into some tire shape before it went into smoke, unlike John's car, but still, evidently there's not a whole lot of track there, because even TJ's one of the best wasn't able to get to recover right away.
Let's go to the far end. Gary?
And with Tony Petrigon, we saw earlier the incident that happened a couple of nights ago, and how unnerving, how unsettling it was for the team, and the fact that you had to come back with a new car. The satisfaction meter certainly going in the other direction with that first round win.
It just took a big spike up, but you know, we're trying to overcome that. I think that this team has proven we're very resilient. Cars smoke the tires, and just goes to show this Q car and the product can go toe-to-toe with anybody out here. We believe that we're just an adjustment away, but that's a big win for us, for Snap-on, Mr. Gasket. Great stuff. All the people are standing behind us. A big race, and we can turn it around right here this weekend.
Let's go to Dave Reeve.
Tim Wilkerson getting set now, and that's a new Levi Ray shop car. Remember what happened in the qualifying session yesterday when Tim Wilkerson had a vicious fire underneath the hood of that car, and that's the second fire that Tim Wilkerson has had in 2 weeks. He actually was in Cordoba last weekend, suffered a similar fate. The team put that car back together, was able to fit it back on for this weekend. It's their best piece, and their backup piece, though, was a new car, not this new car. That new car, they had a problem fitting to the body, so late last night, Tim Wilkerson's father, Roy Wilkerson, and his uncle, Dean Lyons, both 80-year-old gentlemen, left Springfield, Illinois at about 11:30 last night, brought this car over. So if they passed you on the interstate, that's why.
And that video you saw, when you have one of those fires in your cockpit, you want something that's going to protect you. And Oakley's come out with a brand new product that really retards that process. It's called O-Carbonex, and that was the demonstration video that you were seeing there. We get ready now for Wilkerson up against Gary Scelzi. How many times has Gary Scelzi been in this situation this year, guys, where the points leaders are out of here? He's got a big chance to make a statement, and how many times has he not finished the job? Here's another one right here against Tim Wilkerson. Gary says not this time. 4.93 the elapsed time, and Scelzi picks up a very big round win. Not only is it towards a Mac Tools U.S. Nationals title that he has never won in Funny Car, he has in Top Fuel, but also he's now 19 points behind Robert Hyde. Don't go anywhere. We got Bazemore and Ron Capps coming back here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Top row of the suites here at Indianapolis Raceway Park as we come back live here to the 51st edition of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Still one more pair of Funny Car to go down the quarter mile. And again, another team with big opportunities. This is Team Schumacher. Ron Capps, second in the points coming into today's action, has to win to keep pace with his teammate Gary Scelzi. He's got to beat his other teammate, Whit Bazemore.
And Whit Bazemore is not in the hunt for the championship. And if I'm a team owner right here, I would be making Whit Bazemore's car smoke the tires. Now, I know you don't like team owners, and I don't either, but that's what, to me, what team cars are for. Now, the problem that's wrong with that is you got Whit Bazemore. There's no way in heck he is ever going to want to lay down for anybody, especially at the U.S. Nationals. And we've also heard Don Schumacher, since that debacle in Seattle a couple years ago, say he's going to never do that again. He's going to race straight up, and up to this point, he always has.
And Whit Bazemore has lane choice. He's in the right lane. There is Don Schumacher. right to Whit Bazemore. You saw him go very deep, and this will be a hard one for Mike to explain. It is technically a hole shot win because of the lapse time. 492 to the quicker, but losing 490. Good luck, buddy.
It's a situation where we talk about drivers going in deep. They'll look at the numbers. Whit Bazemore as a driver did really not get a reaction time advantage. Probably both cars left at the same time, but when Whit Bazemore put that top light to stage, he was closer to the starting line than Ron Capps. So if they both hit the throttle at the same time, Whit Bazemore is going to get the starting line quicker, which gives him a better reaction time, but he's not getting the run at the line like Ron Capps does. So Ron Capps will run a little bit quicker, and as a result gets, loses the race.
Take a look at the incrementals. You can see the arrow indicates who was leading at each stretch of the track. For Ron Capps, this is the 4th year in a row that he has lost first round.
And give Team Schumacher credit. I mean, they ran heads up.
Absolutely. Let's go to Gary, and we'll talk to him. Gary, we're going to have to take a break first. Stay with us. We will talk to Whit Bazemore as we wrap things up here in our live first hour at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. As you look down from the top Corey McClenathan's pit, they are cranking those tools as that is how long they have been working on getting their car put back together. Just under 30 minutes. Let's go to the far end to Gary Gerald.
We talk so much about what it means to win at Indy, the U.S. Nationals, and here are teammates having to go against each other, and you've got the full range of emotion here. Whit, we start with you. How difficult is it when you've got your teammate, you know his capability alongside, and yet you so desperately want to advance?
Well, Capps is killer on the tree, and he always has been, and he's the last 2 times we've raced, he's hole shotted me. So when I knew that we had to, if our car went down the racetrack, we'd have lane choice, I thought I'm going to take a chunk, and to Capps' credit, I didn't mean to take that big a chunk, so our lights may actually have been the same. So it's not really fair to call it a whole shot victory when you can deep stage and not deep stage, but it's tough. It's Indy, and Capps wants to win here in the worst way, and so do we. And he's up there in the points chase. We aren't. I don't know what. It's a tough situation, but for the Matco team, it turned out well today.
And Ron, how do you put a face on the disappointment?
Well, like he said, everybody wants it. We knew we don't like to run them, not because they're our teammates, because Okahara and Olsen, those guys, it's almost the same car, and I know how good our car is, so it means they're pretty good, and just pissed off. Right now, nobody wants a championship. Selzy got past first round, and height and force out. This is what championships are made of. You got to take advantage of these. These guys are going to climb up in the points, and we'll cheer them on. But for Brute and the guys, we got to dig down, and we got to take advantage of stuff like this because they keep trying to give it to us, and we just can't take it. We need to barge in and grab it and run with it, and that's what we're going to try to do from here on out.
And boys, it opened the door for some other competitors thus far this day.
Hey, Gary, got to say one thing. Happy anniversary, you and your wife, Marlene, 44 years today.
I appreciate that so much. It's my first U.S. Nationals. It's exciting. I missed not having my wife here, but 44 great years. She's put up with me. She's one heck of a good woman.
Well, we'll put up with you for a lot longer as well. Thanks, buddy. Hey, let's take a look at the funny car ladder. That's going to be Whit Bazemore with the lane choice, as well as Del Worsham over on the other side. Take a look. You got Gary Selzy and Frank Pedregon with the lane choice as there. Let's bring in Dave Reed.
Sandtrex team preparing for round number 2. Remember, though, in round number 1, their race against Brandon Bernstein. David Grubnick on, off the throttle. We were wondering how many times that was. Well, John Oberhofer, the crew chief, has given me his chair and given me his computer to show you how many times. As we take a look at the drive shaft, it goes up once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, squeezes back into the throttle at the very end. That is the throttle pedal, up and down, 10 times. That's your answer, Mike Dunn.
All right, great graph. All right, here's the schedule for later tonight. 3 hours of final eliminations on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HT. You will not miss a thing here at the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. That's going to do it for us for now. We hope you've enjoyed our first round live action here from Indianapolis Raceway Park. For Mike Dunn, Dave Reed, Gary Gerald, and I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here on the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. We got college football Monday, UNLV versus New Mexico coming up next. We'll see you tonight at 8 Eastern. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. So long for now, everybody. Welcome to Indianapolis, the motorsports capital of the world. We started the day with 64 racers in 4 categories. 16 were eliminated earlier. When we finish, only 4 will be left standing. This exclusive broadcast is available in high definition on ESPN2 HD. The hunger to win. It burns within each of these drivers. But the hunger to win the U.S. Nationals is something different. A win at Indy is the culmination of an entire lifetime of hopes and dreams. A win here is the ultimate accomplishment in drag racing. No career, no matter how storied, no matter how prolific, is complete without a U.S. Nationals win. The anticipation builds as these men and women prepare to run for the NHRA's ultimate prize. For each one of these racers, the journey into drag racing immortality goes through Indianapolis. And that journey begins right now. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents exclusive coverage of the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today from Indianapolis Raceway Park, we're down to final eliminations for the biggest race on the schedule, the 51st running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. If you were with us earlier today, you saw live coverage of first round, Top Fuel, and Funny Car. If you were not, don't worry. We'll get you caught up on everything that happened, as you won't miss anything from second round on as well. Hello again, everybody. Marty Reed alongside with 22-time national event winner Mike Dunn. And we've already seen Tony Schumacher and the Army of One take the first step towards history. No one in Top Fuel has ever won 4 times in a row.
Boy, does he have a good shot at it. I mean, all through qualifying, this car has gone down the racetrack in any kind of condition that's been thrown at it. I mean, if it's hot, if it's cool, it just goes down there, capped off with a pair of 445s in the cool conditions. We saw him with a 453 with that first round win, low ET of that first round. I mean, this car, so far, has been flawless, but, you know, he's got 3 more rounds to go.
And turning our attention a little bit to Funny Car, John Force has been eliminated, Robert Height has lost, and Gary Scelzi sealed the deal. He moved ahead, took advantage.
Something we haven't seen him do this year. Every time he has been put in that position, usually he's dropped the ball and they've either smoked the tires or have had something go wrong, but not today. He was able to get around that first round win, as did Eric Medlin, who is also still in the points hunt.
Let's show you what happened in first round of Top Fuel action, because it was a huge disappointment. Our very first pair of cars on the starting line involved that man right there, Morgan Lucas, and you can see the problems. He never made it through the water box, throws the gloves in disgust, and before it ever started, his U.S. Nationals was over. Then, on the track, Doug Coletta kept pace in the championship chase, taking care of business over Clay Milligan with a 4.54 second elapsed time. And we mentioned Tony Schumacher, and of course, he had a very easy run against Jack Beckman, 4.53 seconds, just a tick quicker than Doug Coletta. Beckman was never a factor. Let's check in and see how Tony is faring under the pressure. Here's Gary Gerald.
Here is a man who is chasing history today in the U.S. Nationals. When you consider all of the amazing things that have happened over the first 50 years at this event, this is something special. Tony Schumacher is hoping to become the first man ever to win 4 consecutive Top Fuel championships. You've been so dominant throughout the weekend and through the first round. I'm wondering, do you feel any kind of pressure as you chase history and a possible milestone?
Well, I'd like to lie to you and tell you no, and I'm a machine, but I woke up this morning with butterflies, and no question about it, this is very intense. I'm not sure. It was more butterflies than I had last year or the year before that. But when we wake up in the morning, we're going to drive an 8,000 horsepower car. We don't know what's going to happen. We got a great race car, obviously. Throughout qualifying and first round, we've proven that. But there's an awful lot of great cars here, man, and it's a big, big hill to get over right now. A lot of great race teams out here. If we can get this done, man, I got to tell you, man, this would be from the Lord, because, you know, we don't do this as human beings. We don't go out here and win Indy 4 times. This is a big, big deal. I pray all the time for safety for each one of these drivers. We've seen a lot of awful things happen in the last year, losing a great buddy of ours. This one here, winning it last year for Darrell. It'd be just amazing to be able to go out there and do it again for him.
And there's a certain irony that follows Tony Schumacher. He got his first ever Indy round win in '96 on a solo run, and that was because Blaine Johnson had lost his life in a qualifying accident. And the irony is the fact that Alan Johnson, the brother of the late Blaine Johnson, now tunes this car for Tony Schumacher.
Thanks, Gary. As we take a look now at our Top Fuel ladder presented by Lucas Oil, you see that Tony has the lane choice over Rod Fuller. That'll be a rematch from the final of Memphis just 2 weeks ago. And Doug Coletta has lane choice over his teammate David Grubnick. Over on the other side, Doug Herbert running strong through qualifying and in the first round has lane choice, as does Corey McClenathan over third in the points, Larry Dixon. All right, let's turn our attention to funny car in first round. Get you caught up there. The teammates, Whit Bazemore and Ron Capps, side by side. Don Schumacher promised no more team tactics. He lived up to it. These guys had a great race, and it was Whit Bazemore putting Capps on the trailer, 4.92 seconds. And then Tony Pedregon ousts Robert Hike. You can see the problems Robert had in the right lane. Tony, who's had a lot of problems himself, takes the win. And Phil Burkhardt, the number 16 qualifier, gets past John Force in one of the biggest upsets of the day.
John Force smokes tires hard, gets across the center line, hits that 1,000-foot block, and his day is done.
Let's go to Dave Reef.
Don't look now, but here comes Del Worsham, Marty. Remember the man who pocketed $1,000 in yesterday's Skull Showdown? Del says they've got a distinct possibility of doubling up today. That's because Chuck and Del both told me they've stumbled on a new clutch setup, more specifically clutch discs that are going to help them today throughout the rest of this year in 2006. Should benefit their teammate Phil Burkhardt as well, but Phil doesn't don't need much help today. You're knocking down champions left and right. What was it like beating John Force?
Well, you know, it's always good to beat John Force. You get the recognition out here, but you know, we always seem to do well against him. The whole Checker Shucks and Craig and Blue team over here was real excited, and you know, now we just have to go on and keep on knocking them down.
Anytime we come to the U.S. Nationals, we always remember the legends. You want to remember somebody that was close to you as well.
Yes, you know, it came to my awareness about a year ago that I had a cousin that was a bomber pilot in Laos in '66 that went down and is still MIA today. And next week is National Awareness of MIA and POW Awareness Day, and I wanted to bring that to the light of most people out here that really aren't aware of that.
Our thoughts and prayers to all of those who have family members MIA. The MIA, not this team though. They're on the way to the second round, and should they both get out, it will be an all Checker Shucks Cragen semifinal.
And before we get any phone calls or emails, yeah, Dave meant to put a couple of more zeros on there. It's 100,000, not 1,000. There are the matchups right now, and you can see the arrow indicates who's got the lane choice. Bazemore and Worsham on one side, Selzy and Frank Pedregon over on the other. We've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, it'll be first round in Pro Stock Motorcycles and Pro Stock. Hey, there's a cute looking young fans. Welcome back here to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park as we're getting ready for first round action of Pro Stock, and we get ready for the Pro Stock ladder presented by Lucas Oil, and you can see the arrow indicates who has the matchup, and the lane choice goes to the one with the arrow. In that first one, it will be V Gaines with the lane choice over Dave Conley. They're down on the starting line as we speak, getting ready, already pre-staged. V went to his first NHRA final here at Indy back in 1997. Dave Conley, it's his third Indy start. And Dave Conley picks up his first round win in a hole shot, a 008 light to an 040 for V Gaines. So for Dave Conley, he picks up his 10th reaction time win of the year. For V, it's 5th reaction time loss.
Boy, this kid can drive. 008, that's 8,000 of a second from perfect, 9,000 of a second from red light and throwing it all away. But he's done this a number of times this year. Just a tremendous job. And you give him 300ths of a second advantage off the starting line, he's going to win.
The DNQ 2 weeks ago at Memphis just basically wiped his chances of the championship away. So he is going for the U.S. Nationals title and could play the role of spoiler. We get ready now for Larry Morgan as he comes to the line in the left lane against Richie Stevens, another one of our members from the New Orleans area, and Richie's house underwater. More on that in a moment as we talk the weather here, and we haven't seen any kind of moisture.
I mean, it's just been beautiful. Low humidity, low temperature, track temperature 112 degrees because we haven't seen a whole lot of sun. That's the only problem. It's the altitude. Even though it's 700 feet above sea level, when you factor in things like the humidity and the temperature, these engines feel like they're running about almost 2,200 feet.
And there is Richie Stevens, of course. We found out yesterday, talking to him, if you were with us, his house, the family business, a lot of devastation down there. The pro organization, if you weren't with us, raised $150,000 from all the drivers, team owners, membership. That will go to the relief. There's the 800 Help Now number on the window. Over in the left lane, it is Larry Morgan. Larry, of course, from the Ohio area, high and dry. And speaking of this event, well, he had one stretch where he went in 4 straight finals here, won it in 1989 during that stretch. Rick Stewart looks at Larry, says, hey, let's pre-stage. Let's get this race on. Bit of a staging duel. Larry's in. Advantage Stevens. And the win light goes to Richie in another hole shot. 6.77 to a 6.75. So for Morgan, his 3rd reaction time loss this year.
We talk about all the problems with Richie Stevens being from New Orleans. You know, sometimes maybe that might help as a driver because it probably puts it in perspective. This is the biggest race of the year, but I tell you, it pales in comparison to what's been happening in his hometown. So maybe it's a situation where he's just been really focused because he nailed the tree and got the win on a hole shot.
And there is the Q photo finish at the stripe by about a half a car length, and Don Schumacher loving it as one of his 2 pro stockers advanced to 2nd round action. So as we get ready now at the far end, you can see that the car has made it. There's Richie climbing out. And while we've got a moment before we talk to him, let's talk about what's coming up in a couple of weeks on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. We'll have qualifying from Reading at Saturday, September 17th at 4 Eastern. Then NHRA Today on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And final eliminations, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, Sunday, September 18th. As we come back down trackside, Greg Stanfield will be in the left lane. Alan Johnson will be over in the right lane. Alan, his best Indy was 2002. He made it to the semifinals in that event. Greg Stanfield, it's his 4th trip to Indy in pro stock. He lost last year in round number 2.
And Alan Johnson, who's really struggled since winning in Phoenix earlier this year, says the biggest problem is he hasn't really been able to qualify very well. And as a result, he comes up 1st round. He usually runs good enough to beat pretty much everybody in the 1st round, but maybe 1 or 2 guys. But he just happens to be that one that he can't beat has been in the other lane. So he contributes some of it to a little bit of bad luck as far as in eliminations. But he says the problem is they have to get the performance better in qualifying. He hasn't stepped up here. I mean, he's number 12 qualifier. So as we look at his dad, Roy, they're bringing him into the beams. I mean, they really hopefully can get this thing all together on race day. But Greg Stanfield has been tough and all through qualifying here at the U.S. National. So it's going to be a tough one.
Stanfield, a runner-up back at Brainerd to Kurt Johnson, another member of the Louisiana contingent, but he lives in northwestern Louisiana, said the storm did not do any damage in his neck of the woods.
Greg Stanfield's been doing a great job this year. Got a very limited budget.
Advantage, AJ. Oh, and Stanfield noses over, and Alan Johnson goes through the lights, 6.77 seconds at 2:03 to take the win. So we've got to take a commercial break as we will be back with more Pro Stock action. The clock is ticking for Corey McLenithan as they pretty much button things up 39 minutes into their turnaround. Eric Anders looking to be the first woman to win a round here at Indy. She'll go up against Ricky Smith, Greg Anderson, Warren Johnson in the points championship battle here at the U.S. Nationals.
The 51st U.S. Nationals.
Indianapolis. It's the biggest race of the year. Selzy says you're no one till you've won Indy.
And Gary Selzy still has a chance as he has advanced through 1st round action of Funny Car. You're listening to Jake Coughlin's team. Talk to him on the radio. He'll be in the right lane as the number 14 qualifier. There's his record here at the U.S. Nationals, a two-time winner. If he makes it to the final, he bats 1,000. But it's going to be a tough road here because Kurt Johnson has been thundering.
Kurt Johnson's been running very, very good since he brought out this Cobalt in Bristol earlier this year.
KJ's been to 5 of the last 6 finals with 3 of those wins. Oh, 008 for Kurt. And the win light for Kurt. A very good race. 6.78 seconds to a 6.79.
Wow, both drivers really did the job on the start line. Great reaction time by both. Kurt got a slight advantage off the starting line, but I think both cars kind of missed on the setup. They were pretty slow in 60 feet. Probably spun the tires. Lucky, you saw Jag really having to work the wheel there when that thing got loose when he went from first to second gear. I think right there that allowed Kurt Johnson to get the win by just that much.
And there is the Q photo finish. So as we get ready for Jason Line, he'll be in the left lane, already completing the burnout. Dave Howard will be over in the right lane. Whoa, wait a minute. Jason's having problems getting the car stopped. And he is motoring on through. So Jason Line, number 4 in the points championship chase, is not even going to be able to make the run. Don't know exactly what happened, but I'm sure we'll find out. Right now, let's check in with Frank Pedregon and Dave Reef.
And Marty, you know, the moment that Toyo Tires car came off of the trailer, thundered down this racetrack, that this man was maybe going to make a little noise here this weekend. He's done so far, punching out the defending champion. Wanted me to point that out, Gary Densham. But Frankie, let's talk about your first round win as a team owner at Indy. How sweet is that?
God, you know what? I knew I'd get a win sooner or later, a round win, and to do it here at Indy means a lot to me. I mean, I've won it before, but really to get this group, I have Brian Karate, everybody I have that helped me, Mac Tools, Toyo Tires especially, and I mean, it means a lot to me. Redline Oil has been with me since the beginning, and to have all them with me since I started my endeavor as a car owner, you know, is tremendous. And yeah, we have a first round win, and now we race medal next round. We just hope we can keep going.
What year was your magic year here?
99, and then 2001 was a shootout, but that means a lot to me too. But the big one is 99, and I'd like to do it again.
Enough said.
And as you guys finish up, it's a good thing Dave Howard had the solo run because the car lurched at the start. He had to get out of it. Let's go back and take another look.
Just blew the tires off at the start. Just way too much clutch and gear right at the head of the throttle, or as soon as he released the clutch, and that thing just spun, shook the tires. Wheelie bars probably weren't set exactly right and didn't allow for that stagger, and just drove the car towards the center. Lucky break for Dave.
There's Jason Line climbing out. Gary, let's find out what happened.
Jason, what was the problem?
I don't know, we lost brakes, one of those deals, but I want to thank Mac Tools and Summit and everybody for putting on a great race, spectacular weekend for the fans, for sure. So it's one of those deals.
Have you ever had that happen before?
Nope, first time for everything.
And it had to happen at the U.S. Nationals.
Yeah, and he's obviously, as you can tell from the tone of the voice, he's biting that lower lip, furious that he's not able to make the run. As we get ready now for Warren Johnson and Mark Powick. Powick and WJ. Mark's first career meeting. They were there first time these two ever got together, right here at Indy, 19 years ago. As we get ready for these two, WJ, this is where it all started for him. His first ever NHRA national event, 1971. 1,175 rounds later, here he is once again.
Brand new car for Mark Powick. Warren Johnson just, you know, he's got the horsepower. There's no question about it. Just, you know, he's pretty aggressive on his steps, trying to find out what the car wants, and as a result, every once in a while, he does miss it, and he's been, you know, suffering on the tree lately. He's going to have to get a good reaction time to get around Mark Powick. Mark Powick's looked pretty good since bringing out this new GTO.
Warren Johnson is out of here. And Mark Powick, who qualified for his first event of the year yesterday, wins his first round of the year today, a 677. And don't know what happened to WJ, but this is going to be costly. Son Kurt has already won, and Greg Anderson is yet to come.
Once again, WJ, like we said, he'll try different things in the suspension and the clutch, and he just missed it. That car launched, went into some tire shake, just like we saw with Dave Howard. Pulled second gear, got really loose and started to make a move towards the wall, and he just lifted.
Let's go back and listen to the run, see if we can hear. No, can't tell anything from there. But a great win for Mark Powick. It's been a long time for him as we've got Bruce Allen getting ready to come up against Greg Anderson. You'll see it when we come back here to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Welcome back to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. We've got Bruce Allen in the right lane, Greg Anderson in the left lane. More on this matchup, but first let's go to Gary.
Boy, nothing like bringing out a pretty new race car, coming down the track, beating the professor. Tell me what you're thinking right now, Cowboy.
Pretty happy there, Gary. You know, hey, I've been on a summer vacation, you might want to say, spent some time with my kids, but man, it's great to be back qualifying at Indy, our new Pontiac GTO, and all my sponsors that have hung with me. Man, this is just awesome.
Did you think you were a big underdog here?
You know, watching what happened with the first 4 or 5 pairs, I knew I had a shot at it. I knew I had to do my job on the starting line, but Warren's been struggling, and I thought I had a shot at him.
And you did.
Woo! Yes!
As we get ready, Greg Anderson and Bruce Allen. Greg has beaten Bruce the last 8 times they've met. Number 1 versus 16. Advantage, Allen. But at the stripe, Greg drives around him. 6.70 seconds. Wife Kim realizes they dodge a bullet. The margin of victory, 22 1/1000ths of a second.
How about Bruce Allen? That run could have beat pretty much anybody else in this elimination round up to now except for Greg Anderson. I mean, 400ths of a second advantage over Greg. I mean, normally in pro stock, you're going to beat just about anybody, but this is Greg Anderson, and that horsepower of Greg just allowed him to drive around at the finish line.
As there's the Q photo finish for the man that has won here the last 2 years in pro stock, going for win number 4 overall at Indy.
You saw Bruce jump way out there in the beginning, and then right there, Greg, just with that horsepower, drives around.
So that brings us to maybe another defining moment of U.S. Nationals history. No woman has ever won a round of pro stock competition here at Indy. Erica Enders has a chance. Only Lucinda McFarland's ever won a round in all of pro stock. That was back in Memphis of 1992. This is going to be interesting because she does not like to stage first. Ricky Smith, he got the nickname Tricky Ricky because he's got a bag of tricks.
Well, and if he smells a weakness, he's going to try to exploit it, and it'll be interesting to see what he does. I mean, he may go out there and just park it and try to make her go in, or he may go in there and just put both lights on real quick and try to just, you know, throw her off a little bit that way. So he will probably try something, though.
If you were with us yesterday, you heard Erica talk about her earliest experience here. At the age of 9, she was racing junior dragsters here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Now, in the biggest moment of her young pro stock career, she comes to the line in the right lane up against Ricky Smith. Watch the tree. We're either going to see somebody go in very quick, or this could be a staging duel.
I really think if Ricky decides not, to wait her out, it could be a very long way.
So far, neither car has pre-staged. Ricky's lit the top bulb. Now, get the clock. Oh, quick, Ricky goes in quick. And it pays dividends. The win light to Ricky Smith in a hole shot. 6.76 to the quicker, but losing 6.75. And Mike, you talked about the strategy.
Yeah, it worked. Oh, Ricky, he'll do whatever it takes, and I don't blame him. I mean, that's a good strategy to go up there, just try to take her out of her game a little bit, and he did. Got a little over 200ths of a second advantage over Erica off the starting line. And I'll tell you that Dick Maskin horsepower in that Cobalt's been run awfully good, and he carried it through, makes a nice run. Erica made a great run too, 6.75, but unfortunately for her, she came up just a little bit short.
It's her first reaction time loss this year. For Ricky, his 17th trip to Indy. The experience came into play. Take a look at the matchups here in our Pro Stock Ladder presented by Lucas Oil. You can see that Greg Anderson has the lane choice over Dave Conley, Alan Johnson over Dave Howard. Then on the other side, it will be Ricky Smith over Mark Powick and Richie Stevens over Kurt Johnson. Stay with us when we come back. It'll be time for Pro Stock Motorcycle, Angel Sampey, and the rest of the two-wheel rockets. As you watch Gary Scelzi signing autographs back in the pits as his team gets ready for second round of Top Fuel action here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. That's one of the great things about this sport. The fans get right up alongside the ropes, get to watch the crews working on the cars, get an autograph from their favorite team, and these guys are pretty much buttoned up and ready to go, Mike.
Doesn't take them long, does it?
And let's check in at the far end with Gary Gerald.
Less than 24 hours ago at almost this very spot, this woman was in such great spirits, the big smile, had punched her way into the field very effectively. The opportunity was there, but it did not happen. Tell us the emotion and how you deal with it now as you still look for your first round win as kind of a pioneer. It's been a long time in this sport.
Yeah, it has, and you know, it would have been great to do it here at the U.S. Nationals. They call him Tricky Ricky for a reason, and I'm so sorry that I lost on the whole shot. We're going to get back with the team, and I'm taking this car testing, and I ain't leaving that track until I can cut O-lights again like I did before, and we're going to be competitive the rest of this year, and we're going to be a player next year, and thanks to Slammers, and I'm just mad, man. I wish we could have won that one.
A lot of emotion, and you can well imagine. Let's check in with Dave Reef.
Gary, one of the craziest stories in all of Pro Stock Motorcycles surrounds Chip Ellis. Just take a look at his year. Remember, all of his equipment was stolen in a theft in Omaha, Nebraska. Before that, his crew chief, Ken Johnson, the man you see standing right behind him, lost his left leg in an ATV accident. But everything, Chip, has come back here, and you are ready to let out the clutch, hopefully for real this time. You're the #1 qualifier. A year ago.
Yeah, a year ago we were #1 qualifier, and we had a unfortunate mishap with the throttle cable, but my buddy back at the shop, Daryl, he built us a nice little one out of billet, so we're gonna try that out this year and make sure it works and try to get past this first round. My bike's running good, S&S power, Mac Tools, we're getting her done.
What does it mean to have Ken Johnson back? We talked to Ken yesterday. He's pretty happy to be back.
Ken, he's my sanity throughout this whole operation. He's a great guy. He's a great friend, and he's really an inspiration to me as fast as he came back after losing his leg. And he said if I don't win this round, he's going to take his leg off and hit me with it. So I'm just going to try to get her done as best we can.
Ken says the key to these weekends, just taking it easy. Of course, having said that, he worked 70 hours on that brand new bike that Chip is taking to the staging lanes in just a moment.
It is great to have Ken back. And as we take a look at the Pro Stock Motorcycle Ladder presented by Lucas Oil, here are the matchups as you've got our pole sitter Andrew Hines with Joe DeSantis, and then Steve Johnson, Antron Brown, Angel Sampey. They're on a collision course for a second round matchup, perhaps. Matt Smith in a great run. And then you see Ellis, GT Tonglet, and Ryan Schnitz. We've got a brief moment here. Let's bring in Gary Scelzi, signing one last autograph. You're amphibious again. Oh, no, that's ambidextrous, doing two things with two different hands.
I'm a mess is what I am, Marty.
Hey, we've talked about it. I mean, we said it right at the beginning. There have been so many times this year when you had an opportunity to seal the deal and you couldn't get it done. So far, so good this time.
Oh, it was nerve-wracking watching force and height, and then, you know, we lined way up to the right-hand side, and with that Stratus, it's got a big window post, and I had to drop my head down like this to watch when Tim staged, and I blew it on the tree, man. I almost got my legs sawed off right there, and then I had to drive it back to the middle of the groove, and then it started shaking about the time I got to the center and got out of almost to the center line, I'm telling you, and I couldn't see anything. It started shaking and vibrating. It was a lot of excitement there, and the pressure's really building, Marty. I mean, I've been in 3 World Championship battles, but right now we got to get it done. And you know, we got Tony Pedregon next round. Mike's going to leave the car comfortable, and we're going to make it go down the racetrack. These guys are going to have to beat us, and hopefully they don't.
All right, well, we'll go back to sign some more autographs because we're ready for a Pro Stock Motorcycle out on the starting line as Craig Treble and Steve Johnson come to the line. Thank you, Gary. And we'll see him briefly in the second round action. Right now, these are the number 8 and 9 qualifiers. Johnson has the lane choice. He went in the left lane. Advantage Treble. But it is Steve Johnson driving around Craig. A 7:16 beats a 7:23.
That's a bit of a surprise because both riders qualified with a 7:12, but Craig Treble had a very consistent bike all through qualifying. And when I saw him get the advantage off the starting line, I thought, well, it's probably all over for Steve Johnson. But Steve made a very nice run and was able to reel them in and drive around them and get to the finish line just ahead and into the next round.
And that is big for Treble. Remember, he's coming off that DNQ back at Memphis. As he loses here in first round, at least he made it into the first round action, but he'll be disappointed again. He was trying to rebound, get back into the points chase a little bit better, but not going to happen as Steve Johnson picks up the big win. We come back trackside, get ready now for Chip Ellis and Mike Berry. Ellis, the runner-up in the Ringers Pro Bike Battle a couple of days ago. Berry, runner-up here in the Pro Bike Battle in 2002. Advantage Berry. But no doubt about the win light here. Chip Ellis, 7.10 seconds, 186 miles an hour. And there you see Ken, George Bryce, George Smith, everybody happy as they are into second round action. So Chip picks up his first round win here at Indy. So as he coasts on out, we'll get ready for the next pair as they come to the line. It will be Karen Stouffer and Ryan Schnitz. Let's check in with Dave Reef.
Now, good news, Ken Johnson. You don't have to take your leg off and hit your rider now. You got to win. How important was that for you?
Well, that's good. You know, I'm just glad to start the day off like that. I think we're going to start it off any better, and that'll build Chip's spirit, and we'll be ready for next round for sure.
Are you holding up physically?
Oh, yeah. I'm good early in the day. Good early in the day. Feel good.
Want to make sure they're around, though, later in the day.
All right, thanks, guys. Karen qualified for her first ever NHRA Pro Stock motorcycle race here in 2002. As we get underway, Karen had the advantage off the line, but look at Ryan. He goes 7.13 seconds at 183 to easily take the win light here against Karen Stouffer. So Ryan, in his first ever start at Indy, takes his first win. Let's go to Gary.
First pair that came down the track, Steve Johnson, a winner. You know all about the prestige of the U.S. Nationals. Well, what would it be like if Steve Johnson walked away with a Wally at the end of this
There's nothing cooler than trying to win this race, but we got to go one round at a time, and that was a Matco bike, and we don't have a lot of Snap-on signage, but we're Snap-on guys, but we've got this new sponsor, just a marketing plan, so if you've got some, come on over.
And that's a Suzuki-powered machine going against those V-twins.
Yeah, it didn't sound like a tractor going down there, both Suzukis.
He's always excited. It doesn't take the U.S. Nationals to get him cranked up, Marty.
Oh, no. It doesn't take anything to get him cranked up, and I'm sure the V-twin guys are going to be on him about the tractor comment as we get ready now for Angel Sampé on one of those other tractors. And Sean Gann, they're both those Suzukis, so he'd
like this match.
He'd like this matchup. He doesn't want, he doesn't want the V-twins out there right now. Look at this. Angel with a perfect light, and she seals the deal with a 7:21 on the Suzuki over Sean Gann, who went to the finals here the last 4 years in a row, the 61st ever perfect light in competition.
That's cutting it off the close, because remember, if she would have been 1/1000th of a second quicker, she would have gave it all away, but she nailed it perfect. Sean Gann had a great reaction too. 0.012. That's 12/1000th of a second behind Angel to start, but Angel makes a nice run and she gets into the next round.
Welcome back to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals as we get ready for our first pair here in second round of Top Fuel. It will be Doug Herbert over in the right lane, Melanie Troxel in the left lane. Burnouts are complete. And let's get you caught up on what happened if you weren't with us earlier in the day today in round number 1. Before it ever got started for Morgan Lucas, it ended. He never made it through the water box. You could see the frustration as he threw the gloves out and climbed out of the car. It gave Rod Fuller a bye run. Then Melanie Troxel took care of business, sending Scott Coletta on the trailer. She ran a 4:59. And then David Grubnick and Brandon Bernstein. And it was Grubnick getting the better of the smoking Brandon Bernstein with a 5:25 in a pedal affair. Take a look at the matchups here in our Top Fuel ladder presented by Lucas Oil. It is Tony Schumacher looking for his 4th win in a row here. He's got lane choice Doug Coletta, Doug Herbert, and Corey McClenathan. And as we get ready now for Melanie and Doug Herbert, Doug beat Mel in her return to Top Fuel this year back at Denver, the one time that they went head-to-head.
Doug Herbert with lane choice has picked that right-hand lane, pretty much what we saw everybody do after Scott Coletta spun the tires in the left-hand lane off the starting line. Talked about the previous round. The lanes were very, very even all through qualifying. We saw that left-hand lane come around after a few sessions and or a few rounds of running in the first round. So I think they're pretty even right now, but I got to agree with Doug. I would take the right-hand lane if I had choice.
You saw Melanie turn the red light. It wasn't even close. Doug Herbert goes on to a 4:59 at 318 miles an hour. I'm not sure if Melanie would have had it even if the car would have stuck.
Yeah, it's hard to say what would have happened. I don't know if she two-stepped her or if she just basically went early. She was almost 0.2 of a second early. Doug Herbert had 006 reaction. He was just reacting to Melanie. He heard Melanie leave, and he left. And at that point, you know you got the race won. Just the fact that, keep that thing in the middle of the groove and make a good run to hopefully get lane choice for next round.
So for Doug Herbert, who went to a runner-up spot here the first time he ever came to Indy, he's into the semifinals and loving every minute of it. As he climbs out of the far end of the racetrack, and we come back trackside, starting line area, and there's Corey McClenathan. He'll be in the right lane up against Larry Dixon and the Miller Lite squad. First time these two have ever met here at the U.S. Nationals. That seems a little hard to believe with their storied career. Completes his burnout, the Fram Air Hawk top fueler. Of course, Larry Dixon, a big historical buff of the NHRA. He knows the history of this sport, loves this sport. We asked him about his favorite memory here at the Nationals.
My best personal memory from Indianapolis really it goes back when I was crewing on Snake's funny car. It was his last time. He had already announced he was going to go to Top Fuel, and this was his last Indy. And we went in there and won the shootout, won the race, ran quicker than anybody had ever had in the class. Still to this day, that's my favorite Indy memory.
There you see Larry's personal numbers here at the U.S. National. His first Indy race back in 1995. Went on to take the win over Bob Vandergrift. Right now, he wants the win not only to move one step closer, but also because of the championship chase. Great three-way battle right now between Coletta, Schumacher, and Dixon.
It's a great matchup here, but Larry Dixon's got his work cut out because Corey McClenathan has had the second-best car here all week. We've been talking about Tony Schumacher, but Corey's car's been going down the racetrack running very, very good numbers. Larry's going to have to be on his game. They're going to have to have a good tune-up. Should be a good race if we don't see any tire smoke.
Car went instantaneous smoke, and look at Dixon, 4.55 seconds, 326 miles an hour. That will be good enough to give him lane choice over Doug Herbert in that semifinal.
This is a big surprise. This car has not smoked the tires all weekend, but it's a little bit warmer right now. Track's a little bit greasy. They just missed on the setup. Larry would have been tough to beat anyway. He was 300s better off the starting line and then ran that 4:55. Great job by the team.
Let's check in with Gary.
Doug Herbert, earlier today, I think I heard you say that the car you're driving, may be the best car you've ever driven. Is that true?
I'll tell you what it is. We've been running great out here. Snap-on Tools car is going down the track, and we had some new car troubles of a couple runs this weekend, but the car's running a couple 40s. So I tripled the amount of 440s that I've ran in my lifetime just in the last couple days. So I'll tell you what, we're happy. Snap-on Tools at DougHerbert.com. Everybody that helps us, Redline Oil, we're happy to be here.
And this guy is down. He's lost 18 pounds now, guys. He's getting lighter by the moment.
Oh, a feather. He's looking good and racing very well as well. Let's talk about what's going to come up in 2 weeks. We'll be at the Toyo Tire Nationals from Reading. It'll be qualifying Saturday on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. September 17th, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Then we'll kick Sunday off with NHRA Today, presented by Lucas Oil, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then final elimination Sunday night, actually in the afternoon, at 4 Eastern and 1 Pacific. See you then. We get ready now for David Grubnick and Doug Coletta. Let's get more from Dave Reef.
Well, Marty, no matter what the outcome of this Coletta team matchup is, it's with a heavy heart that John Oberhofer, the crew chief for David Grubnick, races with today. He didn't even make it into Indianapolis until yesterday. That's because his mother-in-law, Chloe Keffer, passed away this weekend. He, of course, attended the funeral, spent some time with his wife before coming here to Indianapolis today. So our thoughts, our prayers, certainly with that family. Gary?
And on the other side, Doug Coletta, we mentioned earlier today in NHRA Today that there's a unique engine combination that was tried in the open test a week ago by Ron Tobler and the team for Doug Coletta. They've made some changes that pertain to the cylinder heads, also to the camshaft in a short block, and they are the only one of the 3 Coletta drivers this weekend using that setup. Tobler said he's been pleased with it. Doug says he's liked it thus far. They're going to put it to another test here momentarily against a teammate.
And of course, the big question will be, will there be team orders involved here? Doug Coletta in a championship chase. He's dead even right now coming into this round in the points championship with Tony Schumacher.
Well, just like I said with Bazemore and Capps, I'd be making Grubnick's car smoke the tires right now because it's important that they get this round win. We'll see what happens.
And you and I are going to argue about that one forever. Doug. And look at Grubnick's car. I mean, cylinders dropping everywhere. And Doug Coletta goes red, giving the win to David Grubnick. His first foul this year. And we could have a change in the points leadership again in Top Fuel. There is Shirley Muldowney. She can't believe it. I don't think Grubnick can believe it. But he's going to his first U.S. National semifinal.
Wow, that was a huge mistake.
That could be the biggest understatement of the weekend.
Stating the obvious there. Oh, man, he two-stepped it, too. I think that's why I picked the front end and smoked the tires up. Now, you can say, well, you smoked tires, you might have got beat anyway, but two things happened. I mean, Grubnick broke off the line, but he actually two-stepped it. If he hadn't have done that, he probably would have went straight down the racetrack.
The belt comes off Grubnick's car at about half track. You saw it there on the replay.
You know, we need to run that replay one more time if we can, because I don't know if he two-stepped it or if something happened to jerk the front end up to cause the red light. I couldn't tell from that angle. We need to be able to hear from on the initial hits, because that thing really did launch a front end up. And usually when it does that, the driver goes out there and just kind of pushes up. Oh yeah, he two-stepped it. Yep, you heard him hit the throttle twice, and then that locked the clutch up and drove it up in the air. So that means had he not two-stepped it, the thing would have went down the track.
Gary?
Dave Grubnick, how much of a surprise to you to see your teammate with a red light?
Well, not really. If you remember earlier on in the season, I had that problem where we're very competitive amongst ourselves. You know, Dougie's the best out here, and it happens. It's very competitive. But, you know, we were going for it. We wanted the win, and we got it. So, you know, we'll keep going. We want to keep winning rounds. We want to win this event. You know, for Xantrax 3, all the Mac Tools distributors, everybody here.
Let me ask you what it's like when you lose a blower belt. What does it feel like to the driver?
Well, I don't know. If you look at the replay, you probably see the throttle baits going open, close, open, close, open, close, hoping something might light back up. But, yeah, that was you really need a blower belt, believe me. So thank you.
That's the man that was a ragdoll a bit earlier.
Robbie.
So we're down to the final pair, and a huge opportunity for Tony Schumacher, trying to win 4 in a row. He's already got 4. He's 4 behind Big Daddy Don Garlits. He's won 3 in a row and 4 of the last 5 years. Rematch of the Memphis final with Rod Fuller. What a great drag race at Schumacher. A 454 to a 459. Fuller was first off the line by 2 100ths. The margin of victory, 3 100ths at the stripe.
Just a great drag race there in the heat of the day. I mean, give a hand to both of these teams. I mean, Lee Beard did a good job. I know he's mad at himself. He was probably looking for a little bit more than that, but I think he felt if he could have ran a 4:55, 4:56, he'd give him a race. Fell off, maybe missed it just a little bit. Still made a good run. Hot Rod Fuller did his job on the start line, getting that 200s, kept him in the game for at least a half track, but that Alan Johnson tune-up was just able to drive by at the other end.
So let's check in with Dave Reed.
Down with Alan Johnson, was trying to get a quick ad. Alan, you switched lanes. Everybody was in that right lane first. You move over to the left this time. How come?
Well, we had that one car that smoked tires over there, and that ruined the groove we were going to run in. Dixon made a nice groove over here, so we just came over and ran in that one.
What was wrong with the left lane, if anything, in the first round?
Same thing. The groove got slaughtered early.
So already, Funny Car is doing its burnout, and we have now had our 6th different lead in Top Fuel. The record is 9. Gary Scelzi in the left lane, Tony Pedregon over in the right lane. All right, let's first get you caught up on what happened in first round. Phil Burkhart took out #1 qualifier, John Force.
John Force just went up and smoked really hard a couple hundred feet out, and that allowed Phil Burkhart to get the win.
And then the points leader, Robert Height, goes up in tire smoke in the right lane. Tony Pedregon, who's had a very rough weekend, he gets the win. And then Whit Bazemore and Ron Capps, the teammates, racing straight up. And it is Whit Bazemore putting Ron Capps on the trailer. So let's take a look at our Funny Car ladder presented by Lucas Oil, and you'll see it is Bazemore, Worsham, Scelzi, and Frank Pedregon with the lane choice. Body comes down. Tony Pedregon, he'll be over in the right lane.
And Gary Scelzi with the lane choice. He's also chosen the left lane like Tony Schumacher, where Alan Johnson put him in a situation at starting line. They watch the starting line real close. If it starts getting bald spots on there, they're going to pick the lane that has the best rubber on the starting line, because the lanes are fairly equal once you get out in the middle of the track and keep it in the groove.
Gary Scelzi may be finally taking advantage of the opportunity handed to him. This is 2 rounds now. He has gone, and it's 4.89 seconds in the elapsed time. And guess what? We have a new points leader in Funny Car.
Tell you, Mike Neff, Gary Scelzi, everybody's doing. Look at the tracks from Tony Pedregon. You're going to see on replay, they both left. Tony got a slight advantage off the starting line, but then the car moved over towards the wall, out of the groove, and started spinning the tires, and that's what allowed Gary Scelzi to pull away and get the win.
Let's check in down at the starting line.
Down with Dickie Venables, a very painful weekend. Your driver goes out now. Did you ever get a handle on that new race car?
No, not 100%. We kind of lost. Just having to switch cars hurt us.
How are those legs today?
They're sore. I'm going to go see a specialist tonight and get them taken care of.
We hope everything is okay.
And there is the video of that frightening moment. Happened in session 2 of qualifying on Saturday. As we get ready now for Frank Pedregon and Eric Medlin. Scelzi with the win takes a 1-point lead over Robert Height. Our 8th different lead in Funny Car. Ties the record. It's been an incredible year, folks. I hope you enjoy this. We may not see this again for a long time. You're on board with Eric Medlin there as you look back. That's from up in the oval. And the oval racetrack is off to driver's right about the finish line.
How about this matchup? Eric Medlin, probably there's the oval. There's where we're shooting from. But I'll tell you, Eric Medlin, the hottest driver on the circuit right now. He did get beat in the final round of the Skull Showdown yesterday by Del Worsham when he spun the tires. Right now, he's up against Frank Pedregon. Frank Pedregon brought Brian Karate on board, who used to work for Dean Scusa, and Brian's done a tremendous job. Didn't come on board until Englishtown, and they only ran Seattle and Sonoma. They're just trying to get this thing worked out. The problem here, they have a good tune-up on this car, but they don't have a big inventory of parts. This is a low-budget team right now. What they do have is pretty good. So the key is it looked like they had a clean run in the first round. The parts are good. I think they got a good tune-up where they're going to give Eric Medlin a race.
This Toyo sponsorship is on board for this race and the next stop at Reading. For Eric Medlin, give you an idea how close this Funny Car Championship is. He wins this round. He jumps from 5th to 3rd. drag race, and Frank Pedregon takes the win light. John can't believe it. A 489 to a 491. The margin of victory, 12/10,000ths of a second. And that will be in the running for the Who Got the Light award. And the Team Force cars are out of here in second round. And Gary Scelzi now has a wide open march.
What a great job by Frank Pedregon, Brian Crotty, and the whole entire team. Eric Midland had the advantage off the starting line. Oh, man, Frank had to reel him in, and what a job putting that tune-up on there. In the middle, 254 miles per hour to 489 at 314 at the final. Look how close that was.
That's what 12/10,000ths of a second looks like. Let's check in with Gary.
Sean, what do you do now to go back to make sure that this team stays focused for the rest of the season? We know you're a motivator.
Give them a little pep talk. Bottom line, we've got 3 great race teams, crew chiefs, and 3 great drivers. But there's some great competition this year, and it's going to be a fight, and that's what we intend to do is fight.
John is stunned. I think everybody's stunned, Gary Gerald, that all 3 Force cars are gone early.
Yeah, and Frank Pedregon is the man who does the ousting here of Eric Midland, and I know how satisfying it must be. You bring out the Toyo sponsorship this weekend. You couldn't ask for a better debut, could you?
Heck of a debut. Toyo tires, Redline oil. Mac Tools especially put this race on. NHRA Powerade. We couldn't be happier. My second round win as an owner. Let's see if we can keep going. Love it here.
It's the U.S. Nationals. You better love it.
God, love it.
All right, we've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, it'll be time for Del Worsham and Bob Gilbertson. Worsham still looking for the double-up bonus. Back here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Boy, the drama just keeps unfolding at this storied event. You're looking at Del Worsham. He won $100,000 yesterday in the Skull Showdown. 3 more round wins. He picks up the double-up bonus of $50,000. But he's also seen everybody from 2 through 6 in the points. Robert Height, Ron Capps, John Force, Eric Medlin, Tommy Johnson Jr. They're all on the trailer.
It's been a massacre except for Gary Scelzi.
Scelzi has taken the points lead by 1 after winning his round here in second round of competition. Bob Gilbertson could be the man right now if he can pull the upset and put Dell on the trailer and deny the double-up bonus. Gave it all he had, but boy, Dell is on a rail. 4.86 seconds. That goes with his 484 from the first round. They've got a good tune-up today.
They've definitely got a good tune-up, and they got a great driver in the seat. He was 400ths of a second advantage off of Gilbertson off the starting line and never looked back from there. This is a nice run in the heat to be able to run 486. He's run almost 255 miles per hour at the 8th mile. Finishes up with a 486 at 319 miles per hour.
Last year, Gary Densham did the number, winning both the double-up bonus, the Skull Showdown, and on race day. John Force did it twice in 93 and 96. Jim White, Don Perdome, Kenny Bernstein. And Kenny is the only one to win both in Top Fuel and in Funny Car in the double-up bonus range. And we come back for our final pair here in Funny Car. Whit Bazemore, and you're looking into the eyes of Phil Burkhardt, teammate to Del Worsham. Could there be 2 CSK cars in the semifinals? Bazemore, a 2-time Indy winner in 97 and 2001. He'll be over in the left lane. And while we've got a chance after the burnouts, we want to share a few notes with you because Thursday night, September 8th, Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, the entire crew will have their predictions live from Foxborough leading up to the NFL season opener on ABC. It's Sunday NFL Countdown presented by Old Spice, Thursday at 7 Eastern. And then on ABC, it'll be Tom Brady and the Super Bowl champion Patriots taking on Randy Moss and the Raiders. ABC kicks off the season with a special edition of Monday Night Football. It all happens September 8th, 8 Eastern on ABC TV.
Whit Bazemore right here. They came here and tested before this race. They didn't have a great test session. I mean, they finally left with Dan Olson feeling like they stumbled onto something. And from what I've seen, he's right. They came out of the box and ran a 479 in the Friday session. They stepped up better to 476, and they made some good runs in the heat. So this car has not looked this good in quite a while.
Bazemore, 4.89 seconds, 316 miles an hour. Don Schumacher likes it because he has two of his cars into the semifinals, and they are on opposite sides of the ladder, so they cannot meet until the final. The 489 by Witt will give lane choice to Del Worsham, courtesy of Dell's 486.
Well, unless things change, it looks like the line lanes are pretty even. We've seen people with lane choice taking the left lane and the right lane and winning out of both. Both cars were stuck pretty good here. You saw Witt move over towards the wall just past half track, but it didn't spin the tires too hard, and he got the win.
All right, we already told you the lane choice will go to Dell by 3 100ths over Witt in one of our funny car semifinals. The other will be Gary Scelzi. Oh, look how close that is. 2 1,000ths of a second. Let's talk to our new points leader, Gary.
You just move another step closer. Are you thinking at all about the possibility of getting that big double?
I'm hearing more about it, more than I'm thinking about it right now. Everybody seems to be talking about it. You know, we just come out and try and win races. We know that, and hopefully this will happen, but I really don't want to talk about it right now. I want to talk about my dad and the entire team, the job they've done, and how they've turned this car around the last 2 weeks. And I feel, it kind of feels like last year again. Car's running great, and it's winning rounds, and we're up there with confidence, and the team is just like gelling. And our sponsors, Checker Trucks Cragen, Mac Tools, all the representatives they have here, and Powerade and Goodyear and everybody here, we're very excited right now.
I swear you can feel the confidence oozing out of every pore of that guy's body.
All right, thanks, Gary, as they'll take it back and begin the process all over again on the 75-minute turnaround, and they don't regret that at all. Hey, we've got to take a commercial break. Don't go anywhere, because we have got Pro Stock, the factory hot rods, and there's Richie Stevens as he's strapping into the cockpit. Second round coming up.
You can go hard or go home. Watch TV. You got a choice to make. So what's it gonna be? You got a choice to make. If you really want it, you can go hard or go home. You can work real hard. You got a choice to make. Don't stop, don't quit. You can go hard or go home. Give it all you got. You got a choice to make.
It's time to go hard or go home in second round of Pro Stock action as we are back at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, getting ready for Alan Johnson and Dave Howard. Just in case you missed any of the action earlier, let's get you caught up. Take you back to first round of Pro Stock action. And it was Kurt Johnson and Jeg Coughlin coming to the line. And Kurt goes 008 on the tree. Dreg was no slouch in 015. And at the stripe, it was KJ taking the win with a 678. Then a strange thing happened. David Howard does his burnout. Jason Line over in the left lane does his. Jason can't stop. We found out later he had absolutely no brakes and just coasted on down to the finish line. Then it was Mark Powick and Warren Johnson. And Warren, third in the points championship chase, ends up losing fire, and Mark takes the win. And Greg Anderson takes care of business as the pole sitter eliminates Bruce Allen, 6.70 seconds. That was low for the round. Take a look at our Pro Stock ladder presented by Lucas Oil, and you can see Greg has lane choice over Dave Conley, Alan Johnson, and Ricky Smith, and Richie Stevens as well. Dave Reef?
That with Alan Johnson at breakfast in Memphis following that race. He says, hey, I'm first round Alan. Looked at me just a moment ago, said I'm second round Alan. Better power, better race handling, and just a little bit of luck. That's what has got this guy very, very confident as he attempts to go to the semis right here.
David Howard, his second trip to Indy, a first-time qualifier. And he goes red by 2 1,000ths of a second. So AJ is going to his second ever Indianapolis semifinal with a 679 at 202 miles an hour. As we check in with Dave Reef.
Down with Dave Conley, he along with Greg Anderson had the two best time slips of round number one. The way this team has been struggling, have you found everything, Dave?
We ain't found everything yet, but we're a lot closer than where we were coming into this race.
2 cars back from the water box. Can we ask you quickly about 2006 and anything you can tell us yet?
No, you never know in this class. It's day to day.
So we come back to the starting line where Richie Stevens has already done his burnout. You can see him backing up. We're on board with him. He'll be over in the left lane up against Kurt Johnson in the right lane. And Richie is going to have to nail the tree on this one. The performance advantage is definitely in KJ's corner.
But the other thing is Richie does have lane choice, and he's chosen that left-hand lane. The Pro Stock cars, unlike the fuel cars, have liked that left-hand lane all through this event, from the beginning of qualifying all the way through first round. They feel there's the left lane's worth maybe, 100, 100 and a half to be in that lane for whatever reason. Now, Kurt Johnson obviously makes big horsepower. He's going to have to get the setup. If that lane is a little bit greasier, he may have to tiptoe down there a little bit. So this could actually be a pretty good matchup.
Kurt, of course, in that big championship battle with Greg Anderson. Right now, his focus is on one thing: cut a good light. Slight advantage, Richie, and oh, look at the problems. KJ is out of here. So Richie, 6.76 seconds, the elapsed time. You saw Kurt get out of it, and his day is over in a big surprise. And the surprises just keep coming.
I think Richie actually won this in the previous round when he got lane choice, because they really liked the left-hand lane. Kurt just went after it and just missed on the setup. It just blew the tires off it, went over towards the wall, and look how sideways he got when he tried to pull second gear. That thing really slid over towards the center. That's pretty sideways when you can read the side of the car from the starting line, like I've always said.
As we go on board with Richie, his last trip to the semifinals was back at Chicago in the spring. And as he runs it on through, let's check in with Gary.
Couple of Mopar drivers shaking hands down here as Richie Stevens comes along. Alan Johnson, you were saying just a moment ago that you were first round Alan, second round Alan. Now what are you?
Yeah, I'm third round Alan now. I've nicknamed myself first round Alan all year. We've lost every way you can imagine first round, but we love being here at Indy. We love everything that's going on. My teammate Richie's in the semis. We're drinking Option Parade. Man, it's awesome.
Option Parade right there. Did I get that draw just close? Richie, how you doing at this point? Sigh of relief?
Yes. I mean, we've been struggling just like him, having first round blues all year, and just to to get out the first round, to get into the second. Now we're going to the semis. It's been awesome this weekend so far, and hopefully we can keep going with it. And it means a lot this weekend, especially.
Got another pair coming at us. Thanks, guys.
They're on opposite sides of the ladder, and the last time Mopar won the U.S. Nationals, 1991. And here are the wins by lane in Pro Stock, dead even. We're getting ready for Mark Powick in the right lane, Ricky Smith in the left. Welcome back, Mark Powick. After failing to qualify all year to the point where when we hit the Western Swing, he just parked it waiting for the new GTO. He comes out with this brand new car. Not only does he qualify for the first time this year, he's won 2 rounds at the biggest race, the U.S. Nationals.
You gotta love Mark Powick. Takes the summer off, he comes back with a brand new car, tan, and he's winning the races. He's all the way in the semifinals and making some very good runs.
Look at the celebration back at the starting line. Months of frustration, moments of ecstasy. As we get ready now for Greg Anderson and Dave Conley. Take a look at the most wins here in Pro Stock. Of course, Bob Glidden with 9. WJ's already been eliminated. Greg Anderson right now in this hunt with 3. In fact, if Greg gets beat here, we're guaranteed of a first-time winner with all of our current semifinalists that have advanced.
Well, and Dave Conley is a kid that could do it. I mean, Greg Anderson has definitely got the car. I mean, there's no question about it. He's been making great runs, doesn't waste a lot of motion when that car launches, and pretty much goes straight down the racetrack, and he's got the big horsepower. But Dave Conley, as we look at his engine builder, Bill Grumpy Jenkins there taking some notes, this kid is notorious on the starting line. Greg knows it. He knows he can't spot this kid too much. He's got to go out there and cut a decent light. He can afford to give him 1 or 2 hundredths of a second, but he doesn't want to give him much more than that.
Conley. It's not looking like it's enough. You saw it from the onboard. Greg Anderson, 6.71. Again, he is the quickest for this round, 205, and Bill Grumpy Jenkins, who won back here in Super Stock 38 years ago, watches his guy go down to defeat. There's the Grump.
Greg Anderson, that team are just unbelievable. I mean, Dave Conley did get the advantage off the starting line, but it was only a little over 100th of a second. That is definitely not enough for that GTO. Greg's been making great runs. Even if he can be a little bit off, and he's still going to, be a couple hundredths better than you. And he's just been spot on all weekend long.
Well, not only is Greg looking like he's marching on to his 4th U.S. Nationals title, he's opening up the point spread. It's now 95 over Kurt Johnson. He's got the lane choice, as does Richie Stevens over Mark Powick in our Pro Stock semifinal. We've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, we will talk to the two-time Powerade champion. There he is. He'll be with Gary when we return. Back here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, we're getting ready for second round action in Pro Stock Motorcycle. As you see, that is Angel Sampey, and she's in the left lane up against Gino Scali. As we take a look, here's the Pro Stock Motorcycle ladder presented by Lucas Oil. Lane choice to Johnson, Sampey, Ellis, and Ryan Schnitz. In this one, Angel, the last 2 years, she has not made it out of second round here at the U.S. Nationals. Gino Scali, he was runner-up earlier this year at Chicago. Here we go. Advantage, Scali. But the win light goes to Angel. 7.22 seconds at 181 miles an hour. So for the first time in 3 years, Angel is going to the semifinals here at the U.S. Nationals.
Well, Gino Scali had 400ths of a second advantage off the starting line, but he missed the setup because Angela pretty much made up that ET by 60 feet and then just made all her shift points just right and puts her into the semifinals.
Let's check in with Dave Reef.
Pro Stock Motorcycle, Marty, the second round features the V-Twins going up against the Suzukis. We're seeing those Suzukis right now, but let's talk about a pair of V-Twins. You're looking at the back of Matt Smith's bike. That is the SNS Buell that his teammate for this weekend, Chip Ellis, rode to the #1 qualifying spot. For Matt Smith, it's a bike he didn't even sit on until he got here on Friday. He's been a Suzuki campaigner all his life. Now he's got a bike that sat on the pole. As far as Chip goes, this was a brand new bike they brought out. It only has about 10 passes on it right now. Pretty interesting. Both of these bikes are capable of going the distance, but if I'm Chip Ellis, I'm wondering if didn't turn that old bike in a little too soon.
Good thought. All right, as you see those guys getting an encouragement, let's go out where Steve Johnson, he was here at the very first time that Pro Stock Motorcycle was competing as a championship class in 1987. He's the only one here from that year in Pro Stock Motorcycle. And Joe DeSantis, last time he won a round, 2004 at Gainesville. Here he is in the second round, and he's got the advantage off the line. But Steve Johnson takes the win, 7.18 seconds to a 7:37. So he's got lane choice over Angel in the battle of the two Suzukis. And let's put a period on Pro Stock and check in with that man right there. He's with Gary.
Greg Anderson has been smiling virtually all weekend long. You've been through this drill so many times. You know what it takes to win championships. You've got a great opportunity now with Kurt Johnson's misfortune. Give me your assessment of how the day progresses.
Well, I mean, it's just you gut wrench every round out there, and seeing Kurt lose like that, you know, you get just an instant of gratification and think maybe I can finally make a little ground up. But you know what? Usually when you start thinking about things like that, you screw up yourself. So had to get my head back in the game. And the bottom line is to go out and win the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. It's such a special race, and I need to put this summit Pontiac in the winner's circle and see if we can raise a little cash for those hurricane victims down in Louisiana. That's really what's turning into my main focus right now, and hopefully we've got the car to do it. It's just up to me to either win or lose.
We salute you for it. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Gary. And just as you guys finish up, it's Matt Gadara in the right lane, Ryan Schnitz in the left lane. And it is going to be Matt Gadara in a walk, 7.21 seconds as Schnitz has problems, has to pull up. So Matt Gadara going to his first ever semifinal at the U.S. Nationals. And Schnitz, number 4 in the points, is on the trailer. While we've got a moment, let's talk about what's going to come up on the schedule in 2 weeks, where we'll see you from Reading, Pennsylvania, in the Toyo Tire Nationals. Qualifying will be Saturday, September 17th at 4 Eastern. Then we'll kick it off on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for NHRA Today, presented by Lucas Oil, and then final elimination Sunday afternoon, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, all of it on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. So as we come back to the starting line, you heard Dave Reef's report a little bit earlier about the history on these two motorcycles. Chip Ellis on the new version, Matt Smith on the old version.
Chip Ellis made a great run in the previous round to run that 7:10. Matt Smith's been looking pretty good, but he didn't run the number in the first round.
Matt Smith in a hole shot, 7.16 seconds. Chip goes 7:13 at 1:30 or 1:85. It is his first reaction time loss for Chip this year, and Matt Smith on the older version takes the win.
I think Chip Ellis will be kicking himself because Matt Smith just didn't have that great of a reaction time, but he was still 400 better than Chip Ellis, who was 1:01 in reaction time, which is pretty slow for a pro stock motorcycle. And as a result, Matt Smith was able to get the win by just that much.
Not bad for a guy who the first time he climbed on that motorcycle was Friday. Doing pretty good. You're on your way to the semifinals at the U.S. Nationals. Take a look. Here are the matchups in the Suzukis. Now, look at the times. A 7:18 was the best amongst the Suzuki. Steve Johnson has the lane choice. And then a 7:16, slightly better for the B twins. Matt Smith has lane choice there. And let's check in again with Gary.
Steve Johnson, we talked about your history, and you know the meaning of the U.S. Nationals, and now you've gone another round. What do you think this Suzuki's capable of today?
I really don't know, but I got to change my flight on Delta. That's it. That's all I got to say.
Okay, call the airline. Let's check over here with Angel. How about your Suzuki and your satisfaction meter? What's it reading right now?
Oh, man, let me tell you, my Army team is doing one heck of a job. I have to say that I have never been so proud to have all the power in Dasani water that we can get our hands on this weekend because of those people in Louisiana. I'm just going to do the best job I can. Whatever money I win this weekend is going to 1-800-HELP-NOW.
Terrific job, Angel. And we'll swing over here as we can step behind her bike and get a word with Matt Godera. And Matt, for the first time, you're going to the semifinals here in the U.S. Nationals. I know that's feeling real good.
Oh, it feels great. You know, this is the first time in the semifinals, and I think we got a bike to beat here. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right, let's check in now, I think, with Dave Reef.
You bet, Gary. And keep Chip Ellis around. You might want to tell him that Ken Johnson walked by me with a big smile on his face and said, you know what? That leg I was going to take off, it's coming off. So watch out, Chip. It's coming to you.
Well, at least he can have a smile on his face, despite the fact that they lost the race. And it's just good to have him back. The thrash continues. That is Dale Worsham's camp. And they're trying to keep from thinking about that $50,000 double-up bonus. But they're doing all the calculations. It's just not a checkbook just yet.
Indianapolis. The big go. The 51st U.S. Nationals on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD.
Back here as engines have fired for the semifinals here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park. You look into the cockpit of Larry Dixon. He'll be in the left lane. Over in the right lane will be Doug Zilla, Doug Herbert. You heard just before the break the history of Herbert. After the first 2 years, he thought this was pretty easy. Comes to the U.S. Nationals, makes it to the finals, and then hasn't been back since. That was back in 92, 93 for Larry Dixon. He won here his first time in 95. And then again in 2001. While they complete the burnout process and back up, let's get you caught up just in case you're tuning in. In round number one, probably the biggest disappointment that you can ever have. It's bad enough to get beat. It's another story when you never even get a chance to take the green light. For Morgan Lucas, he never even got through the water box. The car came apart. And then Tony Schumacher over on the right lane. Not only did he win first round, he won second round. He's trying to march into history. No one has ever won Top Fuel 4 years in a row. And boy, in round number two, Doug Coletta handed the points lead right to Tony when he goes red against David Grubnick. And Grubnick has the blower belt come off of his car, and he still gets the win. So let's take a look. Here's the top fuel ladder presented by Lucas Oil. Schumacher and Dixon have lane choice. Larry selected the left lane.
He was in the left-hand lane the round before, but he didn't choose it the round before. Basically, Alan Johnson switched over there, and it's kind of been the lane of choice since it. And the reason is, I mean, Larry went out there and ran a great 4:55 the last time. As we look at crew chief Wayne Dupuis, they ran a good run of 4:59 in the previous round.
Gary? And Doug Herbert, talking to him, the first 2 rounds advanced with a 4:57, a 4:59. What are you looking for here? He said 4:54 should do it.
Doug Herbert and smoke, and a 4:54 does do it, Gary. It does it for Larry Dixon. 326 miles an hour. And Don the Snake Prudhomme, he won his first Top Fuel win here 40 years ago. Larry Dixon may give him another one. Dave?
Don the Snake Prudhomme has 9 Indy wins as a driver and a car owner. Now on the possibility of having 10. This is the year you got 100, so it's potential that 10% of your career is right here in Indy. How special?
Well, it's an important race, you know, and we just all really gear up for it, just trying our hearts out, you know, and Larry, the way he's been driving, and Dick LaHaye, the way he's tuning it, the Miller Lite, you know, all the crew, it's been great. So, yeah, but, you know, we still got another tough round in front of us, and that's the big deal, you know. That's what pays the bread, and, you know, that's the cool round to win the next one.
Miller Lite car like a bracket machine.
6th time this year. Dixon going to the finals, the 69th of his career. And for Doug Herbert, what might have been.
Watch how sideways Doug Herbert gets this thing. He gets advantage off the starting line by 200ths of a second, picks a front end up, goes into tire shake and smokes it. Now he's backpedaling, trying to get this thing to recover. But boy, this thing is wanting to really rotate on him, and he's still trying to stay with it. But at that point right there, he realizes Larry Dixon's long gone.
And there is Larry. Let's go to Gary.
Mentioned a short time ago in the mid-90s, Larry Dixon came here for the first time as a driver and got a win. Has it ever gotten any easier in the, almost 10 years now?
No, it's gotten harder because every 95 we came here for me driving first time and won, so that was pretty easy. Come back, lost a whole bunch of years, and we were fortunate enough to get in the winner's circle again in 2001, and now we have an opportunity to go back. So, you know, it's a great job for, you know, Miller Lite. You know, Mac Tool's putting on the race. We dig that Powerade. It's their whole program. We're trying to collect them Powerade points right now, and the only way you can get more than anybody else is win them rounds. So we got one more to go.
Adding them up. Good job.
And that brings us back to the starting line where you see David Grubnick's numbers. He's in the right lane. Tony Schumacher will be in the left lane. Schu looking to go to his 6th final here at Indianapolis. For David, this is the farthest he's ever been at the U.S. National.
Like we said earlier, it's going to be very tough for David Grubnick. They're going to have to get that thing hooked up. And you know they're not going to back the thing down because they know they have to run a good number. As you watch them, they're trying to line him up. They're putting the back over. Boy, they're trying to get the back end over towards the left a little bit. Now he's going to have to straighten it up and you know, make sure that front end's pointed. He's going to be pointed right down the middle of the groove. You see the groove there, and that's where the front end's going to have to be leading toward. You don't want it pointing one way or another because if it launches, goes out that groove, you're going to start spinning the tires. Looks like it might have been a decision right at the last minute to maybe move the car over like half a tire in the rear.
Tony Schumacher dropped a cylinder. It's the first missed beat they've had all weekend, but it didn't matter. David Grubnick went up an almost instantaneous tire smoke of 4:65, and oh, Connie is furious. I don't think he had the car where he wanted it.
No, I mean, and that was a big move to try to move a 300-inch car in that short amount of time to get it straight. And one of the things that happens, too, if you don't get it straight as you're coming in there, that chassis can get in a bind, and that can really affect the way the car launches. You want to back that car up and have that thing freed and be going straight when you pull up to that starting line.
These guys on that crew will tell you they live and die for Connie, but he will let you have it if you don't do the job. And he is not happy right now with what he saw on the starting line.
Well, I mean, Connie Club is a straightforward kind of guy. That's why they have so much respect for him. I mean, he will tell you what he thinks, and if he's wrong, he'll apologize. But obviously, he was adamant about the situation up there. It was not what he wanted, and as a result, it's probably a tough break because, I mean, basically Tony Schumacher was vulnerable right there. Now look how far they're trying to move this thing over. Like I said, with a 300-inch car, and you're probably trying to do that with only 10 feet there, and there he goes, makes another move. You know, that chassis, when you do that, you know, that front wheel just twists that chassis back and forth. So, I mean, like I said, it gets in a bind, and it doesn't plant the rear tires properly when you do launch it, because he doesn't go straight. I mean, he doesn't really roll, he doesn't roll straight to the last 10 or 12 inches. That's not a good thing. Let's listen. Blow a fuel line off the other end too when the belt came off.
And there was the reaction instantaneous. What are we doing?
Glad you clarified that for me,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. And there's the wheelie bar mark right there. All right, so that means we get ready now for Funny Car as Gary Scelzi and Frank Pedregon. But let's check in with Dave Reef.
And you guys were talking about Connie being very verbal with John Oberhofer. They were having a discussion. It's exactly like Mike Dunn said. They wanted to get that car into a specific spot on the racetrack, and when the car didn't get there and then had the results it did, that's what caused Connie to kind of come unglued. Probably one of those things that they're going to talk about. I asked Connie if he would comment with us on the air, and he said that not at this time. He was pretty upset about what just happened.
And I think we can understand that as we get ready at the biggest race of the year for Gary Scelzi, who now joins some elite company. He is the third fuel racer ever to lead in both Funny Car and Top Fuel. The other two, Don Prudhomme, Kenny Bernstein. And Frank Pedregon is living charmed life as he is going to the finals again. He has won this event once before. Schumacher can't believe it as his car goes up in smoke.
How about Frank Pedregon and Brian Karate brings him on board, like we said at Englishtown. He's only had a few races trying to get this thing together, and boy, has he got this thing running good. The key here is it's running good, making good passes, not spinning the tires, and it's not hurting parts. They don't have a whole lot of parts, but that thing's nice and clean all the way down the racetrack, so they should be in good shape. Gary Scelzi spun very early, had the advantage off the starting line, but that thing smoked the tires pretty early, tried to get the thing to recover, gave it a couple shots, but at that point, Frank Pedregon was long gone, and all Gary Scelzi could do was watch.
Frank Pedregon going to his 7th career final. The first, of course, is this year, as there's some of the crowd. As we look down from the suite. Stay with us. We're coming right back. Here at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, the crowd has seen some spectacular racing, some unbelievable racing, some upsets that we didn't expect. And as we go on board with David Grubnick, you saw what happened here just a few moments ago against Tony Schumacher. Did not get the car exactly where they wanted it, Mike, and up in smoke. And that's about what we could say about Connie Coletta, because he was up in smoke. He was furious when the car was not where he wanted it to be. And then David Grubnick at the far end of the track shakes Tony's hand, and Gary is with Tony Schumacher.
Tony Schumacher, there was some kind of drama that went on just before you got the car prepared and to bring it out. What was the situation?
We had an ignition problem, you know, and they were back there thrashing, you know, for the U.S. Army. Those guys, that was extra work right there, because we had 10 minutes. I was sitting in the car looking at the car. I didn't have my mask on, even ready to warm it up, looking at it. We had 10 minutes before we were supposed to run. We had to fire it up. You don't get to check the valves. You don't get to do anything. At that point, you drop it down, put new oil in it. Lucas oil, by the way. I want to tell you that. Fastest oil in the world, baby. Get it up there, and, you know, that was the slowest run we made all day, all weekend.
You don't have lane choice. How important will that be?
You know, we ran low ET of every round in both lanes. We got lucky. We got by that round. That was a huge one to get by. We go back now. We made a run yesterday very similar to the conditions we're going to have for the final round. We ran a great run there. We know how to get down the track. Larry Dixon is going to be extremely tough to beat, man. They're going to be gunning for it. But for the United States Army, we want this final bad.
And he's now one step away from some U.S. Nationals history.
You are absolutely right, Gary. As we get ready for that, let's also get ready for 2 weeks from now on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. We'll see you in Reading, Pennsylvania for the Toyo Tire Nationals. Qualifying will be Saturday, September 17th at 4 Eastern. Then on Sunday, we'll kick it off at 11:30 a.m. Eastern with NHRA Today, presented by Lucas Oil. And then final eliminations, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific, all of it on ESPN2 and ESPN2 HD. And let's go back to the far end. Gary is with Frank Pedregon.
Frank Pedregon knows all about getting to the finals and having success in the Nationals. As you started this weekend, well, how did you assess your chances of getting to this position where you could go for the big cash?
You know, the big thing about drag racing, as everybody knows, is having the right people and the right equipment. You know, we haven't been running all year, but my first year as a car owner, I just knew really what people and what equipment to get. And like I said, Mopar, Murph McKinney, Redline Oil, Toyo Tires, everybody, it's combined, and this is the time to put it all together to race like this. So I couldn't be happier. And we have to go out and win it now. I'm a little happy now, but I'm going to keep it for the finals.
And considering he's been on only 7 events this year, I'd say he's got every right to feel real good about this moment.
He certainly does, Gary, as we get ready for our second semifinal. Whit Bazemore and Dell Worsham. Whit will be in the left lane. Dell made a lane change. He moved over to the right lane. Gary Scelzi was charged with oil from that prior run. Here is our funny car ladder presented by Lucas Oil. And you can see Frank gets the winner between Worsham and Bazemore as we get ready. Dave, you've got more?
Marty, this is where the pressure starts to mount for this team that stands the opportunity to double up following that Skull Showdown win yesterday. I watched Chuck Worsham while they cleaned up the oil down from Gary Scelzi's car go to each lane 3 separate times trying to figure out which one was going to be the best. He finally made his decision. He told me because the left lane had just yielded a tire smoking affair that also resulted in oil, he felt like the right lane was a little bit safer. He did watch a car go down at 488, so that's why they're over there. But boy, the butterfly's got to be mounting now. These guys have an opportunity to win a lot of money. It's starting to get on their nerves.
It's still got to be a tough decision because both the top fuel cars smoke the tires in that right-hand lane. So even though you have lane choice, sometimes it's better off not having it because you can't make a mistake. But, you know, that car looks awfully good, both with Bazemore and Dell Worsham. This should be a good race.
Dave, you can tell Chuck he can breathe again. Dell goes 4.89 seconds. You saw Whit go up in tire smoke, so there is going to be a chance for a back-to-back double-up winner. It's never happened in the history of the sport. Dave?
Chuck Worsham celebrates yet another round win. Talk about the decision. It looked like it was pretty gut-wrenching. You were back and forth.
You know, it was kind of a nail-biter, but the ultimate decision was Frankie had already on 488 in front of us, or 89. And their car before him had smoked the tires, so what are we going to do?
Big dollar sign starting to maybe get to you a little?
Yeah, heck yeah, man, this is great.
Take another look at the run.
With Bazemore up in smoke early, you saw Dell move over towards the center line a little bit, but didn't get the tire smoke, put a cylinder out just before the finish line, and he's into the final round of the U.S. Nationals.
His second final this year, 32nd of his career. And before you call in, yes, John did win the double-up, but it was 2 different years. Dell has a chance to do it for the first time in funny car, back-to-back. We've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, it'll be time for the Factory Hot Rods. The semifinal has Alan Johnson looking for his first Indy win up against Greg Anderson, who's looking for 3 in a row. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals as we get ready for Pro Stock. There is a lane change going on in our first matchup between Mark Powick and Richie Stevens. Now, it was Stevens that has the lane choice, and you're on board with him, so now he's decided to switch it.
He's the first Pro Stock driver to actually do so, having lane choice, and it has probably to have to do something to do with Gary Scelzi's oil down.
And let's put a period on funny car at the far end of the track. Gary?
We heard from your dad up there talking about making the decision on the lane choices. As a driver, when that decision is being made, what's going through your head?
You know, obviously, you know, you're wondering, you know, I asked him, I said, are you sure? He's like, this lane, it's got oil and we have to change lanes. And I'm like, all right, cool. We did it, and then originally they were just dragging it in, you know, then all of a sudden I see the cleaners and everything come out, and I'm thinking, all right, they're going to make those lanes better than it was, and we're sitting over here. But again, that's why he's the crew chief. I'm the driver right now. Great job, Checker, Shucks, Craig, and Mac Tools. Everybody's here right now. We're excited. This is a big race for us.
Respect your elders.
All right, as we get ready for this matchup, let's take a look at our Pro Stock ladder presented by Lucas Oil. You can see Greg Anderson's got the lane choice. We already talked about Richie, and Richie making the move over into the right lane, and I'm wondering what he saw over there. In about 7 seconds, it could be a win light.
Saw something he liked, or something he didn't like in the left lane.
Bob Glidden talking to him on the radio. Almost dead even. The win light to Richie. So whatever the move was by Bob Glidden and the team, it was right. 6.77 seconds. And Richie's best Indy ever. He's never been to an Indy final. He's only been to one final this year. That was Bristol when he fouled out to Warren Johnson.
Man, Richie Stevens doing a great job today.
And guess what? We're seeing another lane change. Greg Anderson had this choice. Let's take another look.
I think it has to be the right choice. I mean, he was 996 and 60 feet. Richie Stevens, that is, in that right-hand lane. Usually that's a pretty good indication that the track is there. As you go on board there, move the wheel a little bit when it launched, but then straightened right out. See Mark Powell just off to the left side there, but Richie got there first, and he's going to a U.S. Nationals final.
And let's go to the far end, Gary.
Well, Richie Stevens, you're on your game today, and certainly this has got to help take your mind off of all of the ancillary things that have been going on down around your home in New Orleans.
Yes, it does. I mean, this couldn't have come at a better time for us. I mean, to go 3 rounds here at Indy and make it to the finals is great. That's the best I've ever done here, and I just want to thank Mopar and Valspar for being behind me, and Don Schumacher, and hopefully we can get this first win for him.
We look forward to it. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And there's a problem on Alan Johnson's car. He cannot get it into reverse. Now it goes. The crowd enjoys it because they want to see the race. They want to see if AJ can put Greg out of here. The 3-time champion, 2 times in a row. Greg has won this event in Pro Stock. Of course, Alan, he's never been to a final here at Indy. He's trying to make it for the first time. His last final was back at Phoenix. Remember, he took the points lead at that time and then fell off the face of the earth.
Yeah, kept going out in the first round, but boy, he's hot and heavy into the semis here, but this is going to be tough getting around Greg. I mean, Greg has just been unbelievable this weekend, but Alan's been cutting good lights. His confidence is up because he feels he's got some power that he didn't have earlier this year, and they're making the right calls on it, so it's going to be tough, but Alan can rise to the occasion.
You're on board with Greg Anderson.
And Greg's been good in both lanes all through qualifying. So, I mean, I don't think he's too worried about that right lane right now.
Who's going to go in? Greg looking to go to his 5th Indy final. Alan is first. Greg's in. Oh, wow. Advantage, Alan. Is it enough? Say bye-bye. Incredible. 6.73 seconds, 2:04. Did you see the way he just drove around him? The car looks like it's a slot car.
I mean, that car just doesn't do anything wrong. I mean, it's just like you said, it's a slot car. It's on rails. Alan Johnson got a huge advantage off the starting line, but he spun the tires big time. In 60 feet, it was pretty slow, and then lost it even more in 330 feet. And Greg Anderson, you see him work the wheel just a little bit. That's probably the most we've seen him work it all weekend, but even that was just a nice gradual little move on the wheel there, and ran through the gears and into the final round.
Boy, that might be enough to give him a cramp. That's a lot of work for him in that steering compartment. 8th final this year, 54th of his career for Greg. Just unbelievable performance. And we quickly turn our attention to Pro Stock Motorcycle is already on the line. It's the battle of the Suzukis. It will be Steve Johnson, Angel Sampey. Steve's never been to a final here at Indianapolis. Angel's not been to a final here since she last won in 2001. Steve's got the lane choice. He's going to be over in the left lane. In the other matchup, it's Matt Smith and Matt Kadera. So you're guaranteed of Matt making it to the final.
Steve having the lane choice chose that left lane after he watched Pro Stockers switch over to the right. Now the bikes are the same thing. I mean, they spin the tire. It's very critical. That launch from first to second gear, they got to get that tire hooked up.
Johnson is going to his first ever Indy final. 7:20 to a 7:28. And our winner back at Gainesville, when he took the points lead for the first time ever in his career, has got a chance to pick up his first ever Wally from the U.S. Nationals.
Nothing wrong with that left lane for Steve Johnson. 108 and 60 foot on Joe was right there. 107, actually a little bit quicker. They pretty much left it together. On Joe had a slight advantage off the starting line. Then about half track right there. That's where Steve Johnson started pulling away. As you saw on Joe drift towards the center a little bit. Might have cost her so many laps time.
Don Schumacher going, no, can't believe it, but it's true. Steve going to his 9th career final, 2nd this year, and he's still under the helmet. So as he gets out of that, we'll go back to Frank Pedregon's pit where the 75-minute turnaround is going on. These guys are hard at work. Now remember, this team has only been to half a dozen races, so they're not used to going this many rounds. They haven't done it all year as we get ready for Gadara and Matt Smith coming to the line. Red light, Gadara. And Matt Smith with a 7:17 not only is going to his first final this year, the 2nd of his career, it's his first ever in Indy, and he's going to have the lane choice.
How about Matt Smith? I mean, his first weekend on that George Bryce bike. You know, Chip Ellis gets that new bike, and Matt Smith, I mean, he's going to the final round, and he's looking awfully good right now.
Let's go to the far end, put a period on Pro Stock. Gary.
A couple of moments ago, all of our guys are wondering, Greg Anderson, are you driving a slot car? That baby's on rails.
It's incredible this weekend, and I hate to divulge a secret, but it's right here. It's this new Powerade option. 80% fewer calories than the competition right there, and you know what? The competition's laying down just like this is the man right here. The Summit GTO, she's been on a rail this weekend without a doubt. I can't thank everybody enough. The engine guys at the shop, what an engine under the frame rails there, but you know what? The guys that turn in that car, they're performing magic this weekend. My hat's off to them guys, and I want that Mac Tools trophy, baby.
See you in the finals.
Thank you.
All right, as let's now check in with Dave Reef.
So much pressure, so much aura, so much mystique with Indy. Gary Scelzi will not win Indianapolis. Can you take some solace, though, and then you're leaving with the points?
With a massive points lead, I might add. 1 point. That can be made up with qualifying. It's good to know that we had an okay weekend. I mean, I drove like crap today, and the car just never was on. And we just, yesterday we were on, and then we got beat. And I don't know, it's one of those things that just broke a bolt, and a little vapor oil came out, and it was not going to smoke the tire. But with that mist of oil, we couldn't help it. We're okay. We're leaving here with the points. It's not a bad weekend.
First time a Force car will leave Indy with a points lead. Non-Force, I should say, since 1989.
All right, let's take a look at our NHRA nugget. Only 4 drivers have led the points in both Top Fuel and Funny Car. Ed McCullough, Don Perdome, Kenny Bernstein, and Gary Scelzi. And we've got to take commercial break, and there are the brothers Pedregon as work continues on Frank's car. As we probably wouldn't have picked Frank to be the one going to the finals out of the 3 Pedregon brothers at the beginning of the week, but that's what makes this race so fantastic. You just never know. And look who's here, Big Daddy Don Garlis. There's his wife. Hello, guys. It's great to see you, Big. Welcome back to Indianapolis. It's time to hand out the hardware. We started the weekend with 115 just trying to qualify. We narrowed that to 64. And by the end of this round, only 4 will be happy. Only 4 will have the trophy. Only 4 will win in the record book. Here's our Castrol startup of the day. This is where we salute the best reaction times. And in Pro Stock Motorcycle, it belongs to Angel with our 61st. Perfect light. She did it in round 1. Doug Herbert in Top Fuel with a 006. Kurt Johnson in Pro Stock with a 008. And Whit Bazemore an 048 in Funny Car. Who's going to take home that championship trophy in Pro Stock Motorcycle? Will it be Matt Smith in his 2nd ever career final, or will it be Steve Johnson? He's already won once this year. Of course, Steve's going to have to find the starting line. And in Pro Stock, will it be Richie Stevens giving the Mopar its first win since '91, or will it be Greg Anderson getting his 3rd in a row here at Indy? What are the weather conditions? Well, let's take a look. It's awfully good out there.
and it hasn't changed in 4 days. Since we came here on Friday, it's been pretty much perfect. The key here is that track temperature. That's the only thing we've been worried about. 106 degrees, a little bit cooler. That means the track's a little bit tighter. All the teams have information for that track temperature and these conditions. We should see some great final rounds.
So down on the starting line, you're taking a look at Matt Smith. He's going to be in the left lane. Steve Johnson over in the right lane. Now, Matt, he's never even won a Wally. Here is his opportunity at the biggest race ever. At least Steve has won 2 prior.
But he's never won Indy, and Indy is different, trust me. And if Steve Johnson wins, can you imagine what that interview is going to be like? I'll tell you, but he's got to get around Matt Smith. Matt Smith has looked awfully good all day long. Both these riders have done a good job, but let's see if the pressure gets to him. Pressure got to Matt Smith.
It was awfully late, and it's going to cost him. Matt Smith does miracles. He gets around him in a 7:11. I could have sworn Steve was going to win. He runs 7:20, and as I look, the win light goes on for Matt Smith. Incredible. A 1:17 reaction time for all intents and purposes. He should have been toast.
No question about it. I mean, Steve Johnson had 900 of a second advantage off the starting line over Matt Smith. I mean, the pressure got to him, but he kept his focus after he was late, and he made that shift just right and made a nice run. And as a result, he was able to drive around and get the win in the U.S. Nationals.
It's the 8th time George Bryce has tuned an Indy winner. Let's go back and take a look at this. Watch this reaction.
I'm with you, Marty. I thought there was no chance that Matt Smith was going to drive around Steve Johnson unless Steve broke. And Steve didn't break. He just didn't make the good run. And Matt Smith kept his focus, at least after he got the bike off the starting line, kept it right down the middle, shifted just right, and made a good run.
The margin of victory, 13/10,000th of a second. Gary?
Matt Smith, do you have any idea how fortunate? I mean, this is like a miracle because of that terrible start you had. Were you aware that you were in such a deep hole?
No, I didn't know. I thought I might have been a little late, but this Buell S&S powered G-squared bike has got some awesome power, and I'm just flawless to be a part of this team.
And your thoughts about having a Wally for the first time in your career and having it at the U.S. Nationals?
I am thrilled to have it at the U.S. Nationals. It's great to have a Wally. We did it for George. He's 51 today. This is the 51st U.S. Nationals. Thank you, Redline Oil and Gotham City. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. And happy birthday, George.
All right, let's take a look at the stripe, and wow, it looks like Steve is ahead right there. And, oh, I'll tell you what, if Steve sees this, he may want to recount. I wonder, do you think maybe the front wheel could have carried?
Yeah, that happens in pro stock bike. The front wheels will carry over the beam, and he won't trip the beam to like the middle of the bike.
All right, well, obviously somebody may be taking a look at that. Stay with us, as we always say. Greg Anderson now and Richie Stevens, you're on board with both of them. That's Greg in the Summit GTO, Richie in the Mopar Stratus.
Richie Stevens is going to have to get a hole shot, get the jump out of the starting line, and I think also Greg Anderson is probably going to have to miss on the setup, something he hasn't done all weekend in order for Richie to be able to get around. Greg has just been too good all weekend.
Greg Anderson looking for his 3rd straight. Warren Johnson won 4 in a row. The last to do it, 92 through 95. Here we go. Almost dead even. And it is Greg Anderson. You don't have to worry about a photo finish on this one. He runs another 6:71 at 2:05 and gets his 3rd win in a row, and now has really stretched the points lead as well. He's got 135 marker advantage over 2nd place, Kurt Johnson.
Well, like you said, it was pretty much dead even off the start, but neither driver had very good reaction times. Richie Stevens, I think, is probably going to be a little upset with himself because, you know, could he hit an 020 light, which he's definitely capable of doing. He could have had 500s on Greg and made a close race of it, but it still was going to be tough because Greg Anderson just made another flawless run.
Greg's 6th win this year, the 37th of his career. Gary?
Brad's on the other side of the car. We'll see if we can't sneak over there. Well, he's going one way and I'm going the other. But I guarantee you, we're going to meet up here. And we're going to meet up. He's got a Wally in hand. It's the U.S. Nationals, and I know that it's done wonders for your championship points lead. Your emotions, Greg Anderson.
You know, points lead, schmoints lead. He could care less. It is the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. There is no more important race. I told you before, it's just as important as winning a championship. And I've been so fortunate 4 times at Indy now, 3 in a row. I just can't thank enough people. My guys, my crew, my team owner, Ken Black, my wife, my kids, Summit, Pontiac, Redline Oil, UGS. Thank you guys so much. We have got Indy again, and it feels so good. Yeah!
This guy and this team have been awesome all weekend, Dave Reeve.
Well, Richie Stevens, based on everything else that's going on in your life personally, how does a runner-up finish at the U.S. Nationals feel?
It feels great. I mean, not as good as a win, obviously, but to come out here and go some rounds at Indy is, it's a big race. It's a home race for Don Schumacher, and it feels great. Don't want to really go back home to what's at home, but it'd have been nice to bring that trophy home. But
what is the plan? Are you go home already and start surveying?
I don't really know. I'm going to go home from here and go check on my parents, but I got to be in Atlanta for a Mopar race next weekend. So hopefully we'll go over there and win it, and we'll head on to Reading, and maybe our luck will come there.
So, for Greg Anderson, 6 times he has come to the U.S. Nationals. 5 times he's made it to the final. 4 times he takes home the Wally. This guy loves this place. Stay with us. We're coming right back. 2 down, 2 to go at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, the 51st running of this great event. And now it's time for Funny Car with Del Worsham. Another bonus at stake for the 2nd year in a row. Could it happen? It's never happened back-to-back in Funny Car. As we get ready, who takes home the Wally at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals? Could it be Frank Pedregon for the 2nd time in his career? Or will it be Del Worsham with a $250,000 payday at stake? And how about Top Fuel? Tony Schumacher. He wants to rename the drag strip Schumacher Raceway Park. He might get a chance. And Larry Dixon lives less than 5 miles away from this facility. He's followed the history all his life. And he wants a little revenge from 2002 when Tony beat him. Right now, all the pressure on Del Worsham. You can say you're not thinking about it. You can say you're just focusing on the round. But, man, it is there. Everybody's aware of it.
That's what he's got to do, and that's why he told us, quit mentioning that money, because I don't want to hear about it. He does not want to think about it. He just wants to think about getting that win. Right now, he's got to get around Frank Pedregon. Frank, as you see his crew chief, Brian Karate, is doing a tremendous job here. Only made 3 qualifying runs because they're on a limited budget, and then came out on race day, and they're right here in the final.
The win light to Del Worsham. Look out, baby. Is it going to be a party in the CSK camp tonight? For the 2nd straight year, we have a double-up winner. His first Indy win, and he does it in style. With contingencies, bonus money, the Skull Showdown, $250,000. Look at the margin at the stripe, 14 1/1000ths of a second. Incredible. Chuck Worsham has to be the high point of this team's career. This year, you can forget about the rest of the disaster. I guarantee you this makes up for everything that has happened prior.
You always say, if you can't win the championship, the next best thing is to win Indy, and he won Indy and doubled up, and what a huge payday. He has got to be pumped.
Lived in the 480s all day long. The 23rd different Funny Car winner in the history of Indianapolis. Let's go to Gary.
Del Worsham, you kept saying you didn't want to talk about money. You didn't want to talk about money. Now, can you talk about money?
Absolutely. We'll talk about a lot of money today. I grew up as a kid watching Kenny Bernstein and then Don Perdome and John Force. These guys win this amazing race, the Skull Showdown, then turn around with Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. And it's just something you can always dream of. And I've done a lot in my career, and this was one thing that was missing, And I'm glad to get it off the books. A lot of thoughts been going lately, into all the folks down in the South and everything's going on with them. We're up here enjoying ourselves, so I'm thinking about them quite a bit, and we're doing what we can to help them out. And Checker, Shooks, Cragen, Mac Tools, Goodyear, Chevrolet, all of our sponsors. What an amazing day. My dad, my sister, my half-sister lost her dad recently, and she's been down, so this will make her feel better. My mother, my wife, my twins at home, and again, my amazing dad. What a crew chief.
Outstanding work. Congratulations on just a terrific week.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks. Thank my entire crew. Woo!
All right, as we come back trackside, it's time for the final race of the 51st edition of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. More on this matchup between Tony and Larry. But first, Dave Reef.
Frank, not the second U.S. Nationals trophy you wanted, but still an awesome effort by this team. How you feeling?
Feel a little disappointed, but you know what? Still happy on the other side. Happy for Dell, good friend of mine, former boss. But I wanted to win this for Toyo and for Mopar. We know we have a race car now, and I know I have a team now, and hopefully we pick up sponsorship and keep going the rest of the year. And but you know, we're happy. You know, I'm happy for Dale too, like I said. But I'm happy still overall. We did good. We came here, ran great, career best, and Redline Oil, like again, Mopar, everybody. You know, thank everybody.
All right, as we come back trackside, this is a rematch of the 2002 final right here at Indy, where Tony won over Larry. If you were with us, Larry at the far end of the racetrack, dejected, said it's like getting someone kicking your dog. That's how much it meant to lose. I guarantee you, he remembers that moment. So does that man right there, Dick LaHaye. Tony Schumacher looking to go 4 in a row.
Got the car to do it. I mean, this car has just been flawless all weekend, but Larry Dixon looked very good the previous 2 rounds, and he does have lane choice. I don't think it makes a difference based on that great funny car final we just saw.
Crowd on their feet. And it's Miller time. Larry Dixon denies Tony Schumacher the opportunity to make history and win 4 in a row. Low ET of eliminations, 4.52 seconds, 326 miles an hour, and now Dick LaHaye has tuned his second winner here at the U.S. Nationals. And look at the words being exchanged between Don Prudhomme and his crew chief, and look at Larry. He knows how important this is as Larry picks up his 3rd win this year, 38th of his career. And he wins again at the U.S. Nationals, 3rd time.
What a great job by the team. I mean, to run low ET of eliminations in the final round. We saw Tony Schumacher smoke the tires, but it was going to be tough to beat Larry Dixon anyway.
Larry trying to get out from underneath the helmet. You know, one of the things that, as he gets ready there, let's go ahead and send it to the far end. Gary?
Larry, we know that you've experienced this before, but we also know that you're a historian of sort. You appreciate what the U.S. Nationals and Indy mean. Can you put that in words for us?
Yeah, I mean, I know I can't. Man, this is just such a big deal. You really have no idea. That's how that red light on. Somebody finally beat you here.
Leading across the cars, Tony Schumacher offers his congratulations.
What can I say? Mac Tools put on a great race, chasing for the Powerade points. Miller Lite car, we got that in the winner's circle. Mariquest, Lucas Oil, Skoll, Ray Bestis, we've been testing clutch discs and everything for him. Goodyear tires did good. This win this week, my daddy's kind of sick. We got him here this weekend, and my daughter wants the trophy, but this win was for my dad. Thank you very much.
Say no more about what it means to win at Indy.
That is wife Allie and his 2 children, and Larry Dixon, the champion. Let's talk to the vanquished. Let's check in with Dave Reef.
Tony Schumacher, 15 consecutive rounds here at Indy. How disappointed that it's not 16?
Well, obviously, you know, man, we're in the middle of a serious points race right now, and to have that put on the top of it would have been icing on the cake. But all in all, they made an outstanding run. You know, that's what the U.S. Nationals is all about, man. It's sucking it up. And the final round, we smoked the tires. We got awful lucky in the semifinals. We dodged the bullet. We had a bad ignition on there and put 2 holes out. When you lose that run, for whatever reason, I mean, you need that input. You need that data. And lane choice is a big thing, too, out here. So, hey, man, congratulations to the Miller Lite team. They took us out. We won 3 in a row, you know, and they took us out, kept us from winning 4 in a row. That's an outstanding job. They had to reach deep for that. For the United States Army and all the soldiers, these guys, you know, some of them are in homeland, some of them are overseas, man. We love each and every one of you guys. Just an outstanding job. You guys make me rise to the occasion, man. I don't sure want to be the weak link in this huge team.
You are no weak link, Tony Schumacher. Congratulations to the Vader, and we'll wrap things up as the party continues at the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. Welcome back to the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals, and we told you there might be some controversy involving the Pro Stock Motorcycle Final, and there was. Matt Smith gets the win, but it appeared from our video, Mike, that Steve Johnson got to the finish line first.
Matt Smith's numbers say that he won the race, but like you said, Marty, when you look at the video, it truly looks to me like Steve Johnson got to the finish line first.
Now, the margin, according to the clocks, was 13 ten-thousandths of a second in favor of Matt Smith. And there is our camera view right on the line. Now, NHRA has made a decision. The decision they make is that the race stands as is. Let's talk to Graham Light.
After a couple of hours, Graham, and video that looks like it conclusively supports Steve Johnson, the win still being awarded to Matt Smith. Why?
Well, all of our data on our timing system indicates that there was nothing strange about the run. Matt Smith, all his incremental times were quicker than Steve Johnson's. He was 2 miles an hour faster at the 8th mile, a mile an hour faster at the finish line. And that is our standard. We've run 9,000 runs down this racetrack, and we've not had any indication of any glitches or any problems whatsoever. So based off that, off our data, the run is going to stand. And we look at your optical data and angles, the TV cameras and so on, and it doesn't necessarily support that, but we have to stick with our timing system.
Does Steve Johnson have any appeal? Can he make one?
There is no appeal on a decision such as this. We need finality in these events. We got point situations, and so the race does stand.
There have been some instances throughout the past where a timer hasn't gone off for one reason or another. Can you suggest or tell me about any reason why something like that might happen?
Well, first off, if a timer doesn't go off, that would be clearly show up on the time slip and on the log that we have, and you would see that there was an issue at that time, and that's not the case here. There has been times where the configuration of the car or the bike or something is such that the timing system didn't recognize that the vehicle had tripped one of the timers. And it's the racer's obligation or responsibility to make sure that his bike or car is going to trip those times and those incrementals, and they're the same at every race. They're certified at every race. So it's not as if it's changed race to race. All the heights and the widths and the lengths, everyone's identical.
So Graham Light is basically saying Steve Johnson's bike did not do its job and trip the lights properly. You've had some experience with this in your career.
Yeah, I had a situation about 10 years ago. It wasn't at the finish line. It was at the starting line with the starting line beams. During a qualifying run, we didn't get the rollout, tripped the beam early. We had the numbers to back up that it didn't, and we didn't run quick enough to qualify on a run that clearly on our computer showed that we did. The ruling was then, hey, we don't know what did it. Doesn't matter. The run sticks, and we had to come back to the next session and basically try and qualify the car in the show.
Well, if you also remember earlier in the broadcast, we had a funny car race that was decided by 12 ten-thousandths of a second. That's at the bottom of your screen. Frank Pedregon over Eric Medlin. Frank, in the very same lane over on the far side, as you can see by our video, is slightly in front of Eric Medlin. What do you think here? I mean,
well, for anybody that thinks maybe it's the camera angle, well, here it is. I mean, here's 12 ten-thousandths of a second. Frank Pedregon in the right lane won, and you can see he is slightly ahead of Eric Medlin. Top video, you got Steve Johnson. Looks to me like he's clearly ahead, even though you're showing that Matt Smith won by 13 ten-thousandths of a second.
So who won the race?
Matt Smith won the race, but Steve Johnson crossed finish line first.
Let's hear from Steve Johnson.
Down with Steve Johnson. Steve, you've seen the video. What do you think?
Well, I've had a little bit of experience with this. As you know, we had an illegal engine that was thought to be illegal one year, and they came back, NHRA, and found that some gauges and things were wrong, and they reversed that. And I was confident that they would reverse that because we didn't have an illegal engine. And we had a situation with Gary Tonglet where GT lost a race, and they had a VHS tape at the next race where they showed it to me, and I showed it to NHRA, and they said, hey, yeah, he clearly won the race, but it's a week later. We can't do anything about it. But here, I thought that there was a rule that says when you leave the grounds, the deal's done. And you know, part of me says, I'm camping out, man. I'm staying here. But in reality, you know, all the things that are going on in the world with this economics and the gas prices and the poor people in New Orleans and Alabama and Missouri, or all the places, I mean, it puts you into check, you know, and I have to remember that, you know. So I'm a little philosophical about that. But, you know, my crew chief's mad as heck. He's seen it, and he's a diehard racer. So, you know, I have to just hope that you know, when a motorcycle crosses the finish line first, it won the race. I don't care what the timer says. And there's some issues. Pro stock cars, if those guys, you guys look at NHRA.com or anything, when the pro stock car guys go more than 1 or 2 miles an hour out of their window, everything goes crazy. Well, motorcycles go anywhere from 184 this weekend to 193. I mean, that's crazy mile an hour. So I need to help work with NHRA and investigate this situation.
So what do you think could have happened then?
What could have happened? Well, it's real simple what happened. The beam that shoots across the track did not pick up on the leading edge. And it's clearly that the eye sees what the eye sees, and the electronics saw something different. In NASCAR, I've always, you know, it doesn't matter what everybody else does. I know Graham and I love NHRA. It's my life, you know. I'm a little frustrated with them right now, as I was with the engine, and I felt confident after seeing that they would do what I think is the right thing. You know, but at the end of the day, like I said, I'm going to deal with what's happening, and if we get a tent and we hang out here the rest of the night, we probably won't, but it's really something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed. But deep down, we won the U.S. Nationals.
Surprising, I think, because normally we see Steve Johnson wired, bouncing off the wall, and a lot of class there and a lot of composure.
Yeah, I got to give credit to Steve Johnson. I think I would have been a lot more upset, but I mean, clearly, NHRA has ruled that Matt Smith has won the race, but it's clear to me that Steve Johnson got to the finish line first.
If it had been you, I'd been peeling you off the ceiling here. Hey, let's talk. We're going to talk a lot more about this on NHRA Today next Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Here's our schedule in 2 weeks when we're into Reading for the Toyo Tires Nationals, and it's qualifying Saturday 4 Eastern, then NHRA Today at 11:30 a.m. on Sunday, and 4 Eastern for the finals. That's going to do it for this edition, the 51st annual running of the Mac Tools U.S. Nationals. For Mike Dunn, Dave Reed, Gary Gerald, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time we go racing here on ESPN Speed World coverage of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, where the next stop will be Reading, Pennsylvania. Only 5 races remaining. You heard them say today, points didn't matter. They just wanted to win this race. Well, now, from here on out, points will mean everything because the championship will be at stake. Street Ball is coming up next right here on ESPN2. That's going to do it for us, as this has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. We'll see you next Sunday on NHRA Today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Good night, everybody.